If you like the story, you can support the author on Patreon. Link is in the description.
Chapter 21, The Inheritance of the Style. The next day, when Kira returned to the dueling dojo, everything felt different. It wasn't just about how he had changed. Of course, after returning as a champion, he could feel that everyone looked at him differently. As soon as he stepped in, someone took the lead to shout, and then everyone swarmed up to worship the big shot. But that wasn't all. When he walked into the dueling arena, Kira immediately noticed that the entire vibe was completely different from his first visit. The first time he came, duels here still felt like the old days, like two axe raiders hacking at each other. Maybe not entirely you play one, I play one, but the main offense and defense still revolved around both sides desperately summoning stronger monsters to overpower each other. But today when he walked in, Apprentice A, I'll go first. Draw. I set 4 cards and end my turn. Apprentice B, Nanny. 4 set cards to start. But don't get cocky. Watch my turn, draw. I set 5 cards and end my turn. Scenes like this were happening all over the arena. Just a week ago, when Kira first arrived, people would mock you if you went first and didn't summon a monster, saying your deck build was wrong. Now, all of a sudden, this had become the norm. The dueling style had become very strange. Often, one side would set 3 cards in the back row and pass, the other would reciprocate with 3 or 4 set cards and pass with an empty field. Then both sides would just stare at each other, sometimes going several turns before someone finally summoned a monster only for it to be immediately destroyed by a trap. Then the staring contest continued. It was a mutual lockdown. The philosophy seemed to be, if I can't have fun today, you can't either. Kira. His friends had fallen into a weird trap. Trap beat is indeed a classic deck building strategy in Yu-Gi-Oh! That stood the test of time, but trap beat is not just about having traps. The essence of this style is that traps are just disruption cards that can interrupt your opponent's plays and halt their strategies. But that's just a defensive tactic. To win, you still need to rely on monster attacks, beat down. Put simply, you need both offense and defense. So, this style requires a tight monster core, strong offense, sustain, and consistency, while still making room for plenty of traps to disrupt the opponent. Even with a heavy focus on traps, the point is to trade resources and create an advantage for yourself. A deck that just sets traps for the sake of it doesn't make sense and has very little combat power. That's why everyone knows traps are strong, but not every competitive deck is filled with them. Many decks don't have good synergy with traps, or their main engines can't spare the space for so many unrelated cards. Deck building is quite a science. Even though old-school decks are destined to be outdated, many competitive ideas never change. Many principles still apply even in today's ultra-fast meta. But clearly, the Dojo's brothers hadn't realized the problem. They just saw Kira beating people with traps and winning the championship, so they thought traps were OP. In just a week, the Dojo's previously healthy atmosphere had gotten toxic. Kira started self-reflecting. Was this his fault? Hey, Kira. One apprentice seemed to remember something. Master said if you're here, go see him. Okay, got it. Kira agreed, feeling a bit uneasy. Why did this sound like a teacher telling a student to come to the office after class? Was the old man dissatisfied with how the dojo had turned so toxic overnight? But he figured he didn't teach them that. At least, not directly. Confused, he walked through the main hall and found Master Takuchi already sitting cross-legged, eyes closed in meditation. When he heard Kira approach, he slowly opened his eyes and smiled warmly. You're here. Yes, I'm here. Seeing the master in a good mood, Kira relaxed and sat down. Congratulations on your championship, said Master Takuchi. It's thanks to your guidance, Kira replied politely. But Master Takuchi smiled and shook his head. You're too polite. But we both know your current level is beyond anything I could teach. He paused, then looked Kira up and down. You're different now, I can feel it, he said. I don't know what kind of encounter you had, but you're not the same as us ordinary duelists anymore. It's subtle, but sometimes you just know. When you see a duelist on the field, their presence, their stance, you can just tell they're different. This idea struck Kira as a bit novel. He'd heard that warriors and assassins could recognize each other at a glance, maybe due to some sort of killing aura. But could this apply to card players? What would that be called? Card aura? But he thought he was just someone who transmigrated here. In his previous life, he was just a casual player, not a pro. In this world full of cheats and spirits, he had neither. How could he have a different presence? I'm not the first generation master of this dojo, the master began reminiscing. My predecessor was the truly powerful duelist. He spent his life promoting the dojo's philosophy, nurturing outstanding duelists among the younger generation, and seeking someone worthy of inheriting the style. But he sighed. One time, during a duel. I don't know who the opponent was, and the master never spoke of it. All I know is, he seemed to have lost. After that, he fell ill and was hospitalized. No doctor could find the cause, his health just kept declining. Until he finally fell into a coma and hasn't woken up since. Kira frowned. That sounded a lot like the legendary Shadow Duel. You might ask, can playing cards kill someone? Well, that's the Yu-Gi-Oh! World for you. Shadow duels are all powerful, not only can you die, but your soul can be captured, your mind manipulated, the loser turned into a puppet, anything goes. That's why, even in a world of the supernatural, a master duelist is a true king. But if this was a shadow duel, it sounded like the opponent wasn't all that strong since the former master lingered for so long before falling into a coma. Before he passed out, the master passed the title of dojo leader to me, along with the styles symbol, a rare card. But I knew I didn't have the talent or the right to inherit that power. So I sealed the deck away, just as the previous master had done, waiting for someone worthy to appear. Master Takuchi sighed and turned to Kira. Until today. Chapter 22, The Spirit. The dojo's greatest treasure, the symbol of the style. Honestly, what Kira first thought of was the saying among duelists. You should give up all meta decks and play my invincible Cyber Dragon. In Duel Academy, Zane Truesdale was already the heir to the Cyber style before entering the Academy. According to the master of the Cyber style who later became the Academy's principal, Zane moved the spirit of Cyber and Dragon with his persistence, earning the chance to inherit the style. Well, in the anime, moving the spirit meant Zane trained his draws every day until he could always open with 3 Cyber Dragons and a fusion. According to the principal, mastering the art of God draws was enough. Besides that, the only other dojo with such a legacy in the anime was the Psychic Style Dojo, whose treasure was Jinzo. So, does my dojo have something like this too? Kira's mind flashed through countless rare cards from the same era, imagining what the deck might be. I wanted to promote the style, but I just wasn't capable. After we lost the former master, the dojo declined, and recently, hardly anyone even knows our name anymore. Master Takuchi continued, taking a deep breath and looking seriously at Kira. But now, I see your transformation. I was about to give up, but maybe you're the one I've been waiting for. Maybe you can inherit this nearly forgotten name and make it great again. So, the deck of our dojo's style. Kira probed. If this were a typical fantasy story, at this point, he'd be expecting some miraculous elixir or high-end artifact. But now, his first reaction was, will it brick? Can't be helped. Even though the master was speaking confidently, Kira wasn't optimistic. He knew that anime duelists' definition of a strong deck was often very different from reality. He knew he won matches with deck building and strategy. If the master excitedly handed him some 8-star vanillas, he really couldn't carry it. Master Takuchi smiled mysteriously. Have you heard of the legendary LV archetype? Kira's heart instantly sank. Oh no. The LV archetype monsters that automatically level up each turn they remain on the field, usually by sending themselves to the graveyard to special summon a higher level LV monster from the deck. In the GX storyline, the LV archetype were rare cards that normal duelists couldn't buy. For example, the Armed Dragon LV was the treasure of Duel Academy's North Branch, later ending up with Ches Princeton. But that's the anime. Kira's heart sank because, in reality, most LV series decks are pretty weak. Exactly. Our dojo's inherited style, the silent style, originated from the tactics pioneered by the Duel King Yugi Muto. And the pinnacle of our legacy, the symbol of inheritance, is this card. The master ceremoniously displayed a card that had been sealed for years. Silent Magician. Hey! Kira raised an eyebrow in surprise. Silent Magician, Level 4, ATK 1000. Effect, cannot be normal summoned. You can tribute a spellcaster on the field to special summon this card. This card gains 500 ATK for each card in your hand. Once per turn, you can negate the activation of a spell card, If this card on the field is destroyed by battle or opponent's effect, you can special summon another silent magician monster from your hand or deck, except itself. In the current meta, it's still a fairly strong card, but Kira remembered that this was a future release in real life, so its power in the early game would be outstanding. But the silent deck has existed since the DM era, and in this world, any card used by legendary duelists like Yugi or Kaiba gets priority development. Kaiba even had Blue Eye's alternative White Dragon printed years ahead of schedule in the movie. So this is normal. The moment he took the card from the master, out of the corner of his eye, he seemed to see something. In the right-hand corner of the hall, there was a faint silhouette pure white as the first snow, a long robe billowing like clouds in the sky. A tall, elegant figure wrapped in a wide mage's cloak, long silver hair swaying silently. But when Kira turned his head, the corner was empty. Just a patch of shadow. What's wrong? Master Takuchi hadn't noticed anything and asked curiously. Nothing. Kira replied thoughtfully. Was it a hallucination? Or? The master didn't ask further, only reminded him, take good care of it. This isn't just a rare card. They say it's a card inhabited by a spirit. A spirit? Kira looked at the beautifully illustrated card, then at the corner where he'd seen the vision. But there was nothing. Maybe. I don't know. The master scratched his head. I only heard stories, never seen one myself. The previous master said not everyone can see spirits. Who knows? Just treat it as real, haha. Kira inspected the card, but couldn't sense anything special. But considering how strange this world was, he figured it was better to believe in such rumors than not. If it was a spirit card, that changed everything. For ordinary cards, he'd just care about utility and strength, and whether carrying some weird card would brick his hand. But spirits were different. Unless you've excavated Egyptian relics and found god cards, dual monster spirits are the easiest way for duelists to access the supernatural, making up 80% of all supernatural encounters. Like in the anime, Jaden Yuki relied on spirits before awakening his Supreme King powers. Winged Kuroba would appear to help him out whenever he faced a shadow duel or dirty tricks. Later, he had Neos, who could even fly out of the deck to battle villains and help destroy satellites to save the world. So in this world, even if a spirit card isn't practical in duels, it's a must-have for survival in a world full of cheats and gods. Next week is the Duel Academy entrance test, right? Master Takuchi changed the subject, walking over to a table. He picked up a small card box. I heard you were asking the students about some cards, saying you'd pay for them. Some cards are hard to find these days, but this old man's been around a while, no real skills, but plenty of friends and a few connections. He opened the card box and handed it to Kira. I couldn't get everything you were looking for, but I managed these before the exam. Take them, maybe they'll help. If you need more, you'll have to get into the academy and use their internal shop. He hadn't seen the rest yet, but right on top was the psychic shockwave Jinzo he'd asked about from the start. Whoa, master, you went out of your way to find these. Kir took the box and put it in his pocket. I feel bad, though. Isn't this too much? The master squinted. If you feel bad, then take it out of your pocket. You don't think this is free, do you? The master grumbled. It's an investment. When you make it big in the academy, you'll pay me back at market price. Also, one more thing. The master took a deep breath and grew serious. To be honest, not a single student from this dojo has ever passed the Duel Academy exam. But this time, failure is not an option, understood? Understood, Kira agreed. It's just an entrance test. What's the big deal? P.S. Hey, can a beautiful spirit card become a waifu? I'm not familiar with Yu-Gi-Oh! Chapter 23, Silent Voice. Back home from the dojo, Kira took out the silent magician the master had just handed down, set it on the table, and studied it carefully. Of course, it wasn't because the artwork was of a tall, pure, elegant beauty. He was just researching the truth of the so-called spirit legend. He tried recalling the anime. In GX, after Jaden got the Winged Kuroba spirit card from Yugi, it just floated out and talked to him in the first episode. But his card didn't seem to do anything. Hello? Are you there? Right, no response. Then, thinking of something, he pulled out his dual disc and unfolded it. They say not everyone can see spirits. Spirit affinity is a rare talent. Maybe the spirit was already out, he just couldn't see it. But there's another way. By using the Dual Disc's hologram system to summon it, maybe Kaiba Corp's tech could give the spirit a visible form for communication. The Dual Disc's system activated, and with a dazzling magic circle, the dignified magician stepped forth. Pristine white robes, skirt fluttering, long white legs peeking out, hem swirling like snowflakes. Silent magician, summoned. She stood expressionless and cool, like a solitary ice crystal, her snow-white face as cold as a glacier. Kira stared at the tall mage, scrutinizing her. Maybe Kaiba Corp's projection tech was just too good. Her skin, her gaze, looked almost real. But with that unblinking gaze and impassive expression, she seemed just a hologram. Wait! Circling to her left, Kira suddenly stepped back and looked into her eyes. Still, that blank, poker-faced look, staring forward. But was it his imagination? Just now, he thought he saw her eyes move a quick glance at him, then instantly back to normal when he looked up. Back to her icy poker face. But the moment was too brief to be sure. Could it be that there's a spirit, but she's pretending to be inanimate? No matter how he circled the hologram, he saw nothing else suspicious. Having no other ideas, he turned off the dual disc and put the card back on the table. That night, he planned to take a shower, go for a walk and grab dinner, come back to do some practice problems for the exam, then sleep early. Then he had a genius idea. He remembered hearing that music is a universal language for all species. Some research even says animals and plants respond to music, and some sci-fi stories claim even aliens can communicate through music. So, thinking there was nothing to lose, he turned on some dueling-appropriate BGM, intense heavy metal, thunderous drums, each note filled with passion and power, just the kind of music that makes you feel like your next draw will change the world. Satisfied, he set the music on a loop and headed to the bathroom. All his fatigue was soon washed away. Drying his hair, he returned to his room but paused at the door, frowning. The music had stopped. What happened? He went to the table and found the player had stopped. Could it be? He thought for a moment and pressed play again. Then pretended to leave the room, but secretly peeked through the door crack. He waited less than a minute. Then he saw it, a faint, translucent figure emerging from the card, sending ripples through the air. White robes, skin so pale it almost looked transparent, bathed in moonlight almost holy. Kira took a deep breath. Wow, the master wasn't making things up. There is a spirit. The mage had a holy aura, but her actions were sneaky and nervous, looking around as if afraid of being caught. She crept over and pressed the button. The music stopped. Kira. He reflected that maybe he hadn't thought this through. She was called the Silent Magician for a reason. She didn't like the music he'd thoughtfully prepared. But by accident, his musical ritual had managed to summon the spirit after all. So Kira suddenly pushed the door open and appeared. Silent Magician. The silver-haired lady was startled, covering her mouth and blushing like a kid caught doing something naughty. Then, she turned into a white light and disappeared back into the card. Kira. Now he was sure. His spirit had been pretending to be inanimate. Why? Did he look untrustworthy? He glanced in the mirror, his handsome face instantly dispelled that thought. Impossible. So maybe, she's just shy? People say the bond between duelist and card is key to victory, and meeting a spirit is a once-in-a-lifetime chance. Kira knew he had to seize it. So he sat back down. Hello? Are you there? Silent Magician. I already know you're here. Silent Magician. Kira was stumped. Every FGO player says bonds are everything, but how do you build a bond? This isn't Pokemon, you can't feed or train her. And she never comes out of the card, so what can you do? He thought for a bit, then asked. Wanna try listening to another song? Silent Magician. A faint ripple appeared on the card. A few seconds later, Silent Magician was floating there, staff in hand, head low, looking awkward. She still didn't say a word, but Kira got it. As long as he didn't play music, everything else was fine. Chapter 24, Shadow Duel. Walking along the street looking for food, Kira reflected on himself, feeling like maybe there was something wrong with his approach. Take the cyber style from the anime, for example. Other duelists rely on diligent training, practicing the art of drawing cards day and night as if they were martial artists, and only through their tireless efforts are they able to impress Cyber and Dragon and gain a spirit's recognition. But right now, the silent magician might very well be wondering how she ended up with such a bizarre master, whose method of summoning a dual monster spirit is simply to pester her until she gives in. But looking at the results, from another angle, hey, didn't it work? Seems like he should seriously reconsider the proper posture for building a bond. Kira was lost in thought as he walked when he suddenly sensed something off. At night, the alley hid quietly behind the bright lights of the city, a shortcut to the business district, only 600 or 700 meters long, with a street of late-night snacks at the end. The air was thick with dampness and an undefinable stench. The stone pavement was uneven under the dim light, and the cold wind rustled the old tree at the entrance. After just a few steps, the faint light illuminated a wall ahead. A dead end. Kira frowned. That's not right. According to his memories, this road should go through. Did he inherit the wrong memories? Did he take a wrong turn? Confused, he turned back the way he came, but when he reached the other end, he found another wall waiting for him, looking identical to the first one. Even the surroundings looked eerily familiar. Could this be the legendary ghost wall trick? Fear crept in, and every shadow seemed to hide some vengeful ghost or monster. But Kira quickly forced himself to calm down. In any other universe, this kind of supernatural situation would mean almost certain death. But here it's Yu-Gi-Oh! In this world, it didn't matter what sort of god or ghost showed up. If it wanted his life, it would have to play cards for it. Kira stopped, staying alert, when suddenly he heard a deep roar echo from the darkness, as if from the abyss. A dark flash pierced the gloom, and a formless wave swept toward him like a blade. Startled, he instinctively stepped back and raised his dual disc to defend himself. A flash of white light erupted from his disc, forming a translucent, crystalline magic circle that absorbed the invisible impact. The resulting shockwave left cracks in the ground and walls. A transparent figure appeared beside him, the silent magician, her robe as white as snow, spinning her staff with a cold gleam. Kira breathed a long sigh of relief. Once again, he was certain, spirits are a must-have for daily life in this world. If your deck doesn't have 2 or 3, you better not leave the house. So, you're a spirit tamer, hey? A rough voice sounded from the darkness. A man in a black robe emerged from the misty surroundings. And a high-level magician spirit at that. Today's my lucky day. Kira narrowed his eyes. He couldn't see the man's face, only the green glow of his eyes beneath the hood. A shadow duelist? He asked tentatively. But he was pretty sure this wasn't a character from the original series. After all, there were countless shadow duelists in the world of Yu-Gi-Oh!, and only a handful ever showed up in the anime. Ha, not bad, you've got some knowledge, kid. The man sneered, revealing a dual disc. Kira had never seen a black model, its 5 square zones spinning into place to form the monster area. Since you know the rules, this'll go easy. Yes, I'm a shadow duelist, and... He slowly lifted his hood, revealing a weathered face and eyes glowing with dim green light. An oppressive aura radiated from him. I am Genzuka Genakairo. Kira racked his brain, but couldn't recall the name. Sorry, should I know you? Genzuka Genakairo. The atmosphere was awkward for a moment. Ahem. Genakairo frowned. I made top 64 in the 3rd Domino City duel tournament called the Dino Overlord. Ring any bells? Awkwardly, only the first tournament ever appeared in the anime, and Kira had never seen the later ones. And when you think of dinosaurs, shouldn't your first thought be Rex Raptor, who just got knocked out? When I rose to fame, that so-called legendary duelist Rex Raptor had already retired. Some fools say that if Rex Raptor were still around, I'd never be his match. What a joke. Genakairo sneered coldly. I've gained the power of darkness. I won't lose to anyone. When I heard Rex Raptor was making a comeback, I knew my chance had come. He shouted, I am the true dragon tamer. As a relic of the past generation, he can only be swallowed by darkness destroyed. Kira. So why don't you go find Rex Raptor instead of blocking me? Well, good luck with that, man, Kira replied. I've got stuff to do, so I'll be going now. It's useless. You can't leave this domain. Only one of us leaves alive. Genakairo said coldly. I saw you crush Rex Raptor in the finals, without him even touching your LP. That's when I changed my mind. You're worth more to defeat and to offer to the darkness. Swallowing you will let me ascend even further as a shadow duelist. Kira. No more words. Genakairo had already activated his dual disc. Once a shadow duel begins, it won't easily stop. It decides both victory and life or death. Come stake your soul as a duelist. Actually, from what he knew of the original work, Kira realized shadow duels weren't unstoppable. If someone with much greater dark power intervened, they could forcibly stop or even change the stakes like Pharaoh Millennium Puzzle. Or, in special cases, like a riding duel where someone bails mid-game and crashes their bike, the duel is cancelled. But it looked like there was no running from this one. Kira took a deep breath and activated his duel disc. Duel. X2. Chapter 25, is it on? Duel. X2. Kira, LP 4000. Genichiro, LP 4000. I'll take the first turn, Genichiro said, drawing his card. He didn't play immediately, just grinned darkly and licked his lips. Let this duel be your feast of darkness. I want to savor your pain. First, I play Pot of Greed, draw 2 cards. Next, spell card, Fiend's Sanctuary. He slotted the card into his duel disc, a magic circle appeared at his feet, and a faceless metal imp materialized. Metal Fiend token, ATK 0. Fiend's Sanctuary lets me special summon a Metal Fiend token, Genichiro explained. Then I tribute it for a tribute summon. With the will of darkness, let all enemies tremble beneath the shadows. Level 6, Dark Triceratops, summon. Dark Triceratops, ATK 2400. Then I set 2 cards, turn end. Genichiro licked his lips again. Your move. Hurry, I want to taste your pain, heh heh. That look and those gestures reminded Kira of 6-year-old Merrick, though this guy was a pale imitation compared to the master of crazy faces. My turn, draw. Kira was just as decisive. I set a monster, and 4 cards in my back row. Turn end. A classic 5 set for maximum hospitality. Hey. Genichiro paused. Having watched cross-finals against Rex Raptor, Genichiro expected another machine style, but apparently not. Could it be he wasn't using his main deck? Just setting cards? Such a passive duel will make you a sacrifice to darkness quickly. He sneered. But at your end phase, I activate my set card. He flipped a back row card. Quick play spell, Fires of Doomsday. This lets me special summon 2 Doomsday tokens. Doomsday token, Def 0x2. I can't summon other monsters this turn, but since it's your end phase, I couldn't summon them anyway. Genichiro shrugged. Now, my turn, draw. He drew and glanced at Kira's back row. Maybe you're trying to stall with traps, but such tactics are useless against me. From my hand, spell card Night Beam. The spell glowed, a golden beam targeting one of Kira's set cards. Night Beam targets and destroys a set spell/trap, and that card can't be activated in response. He pointed at Kira's middle back row. I destroy your middle set card. Kira replied, in that case, I chain. Useless, Genichiro said. I said you can't chain the targeted card. I know I can't chain the targeted card to Night Beam, but I'm activating a different one this one. Kira flipped another back row. Trap Dark Deal. When my opponent plays a spell, I pay 1000 LP to randomly discard a card from their hand. Kira, LP 4000 LP 3000. As his LP dropped, his heart skipped a beat, a sharp pain stabbing through him, as if a dam in his soul had burst. Ugh! Kira felt weak, staggering. Silent Magician appeared next to him, casting him a worried glance. I'm fine, he waved her off. Just not used to it yet. No wonder they call it a shadow duel. Losing LP feels like losing your very life. No doubt if your LP hits 0 in this duel, you die. Ha ha ha, you feel it now? The pain of a shadow duel. Genichiro laughed. Yes, that's it. Keep suffering, let darkness devour your life bit by bit. That's the joy of the shadow duel. Kira. Shadow duels awaken the hidden psychos. Some criminals and maniacs, once given dark power, become even worse, stronger, harder to catch, and even crazier. Some shadow duelists don't seek power or profit, they just enjoy seeing their opponents suffer. Kira quickly recovered. Dark Deal's effect, discard a random card from your hand. Toss the leftmost one. Whatever. Genichiro tossed the card, unfazed. But Night Beam still destroys your set card. Nope. Kira snapped his fingers. At this moment, I activate the card Night Beam targeted. Trap Reggie break. Ha, are you stupid? Genichiro looked at him like an idiot. I told you Night Beam's target can't be activated. Are you deaf? Wait, what? As Kira's Reggie break flipped up, Genichiro's green eyes went wide. His mind screamed one word. Why? How can you activate a card targeted by Night Beam? Are you some VIP at Kaiba Corp with cheat privileges? You don't get it, Kira explained calmly. Read your card again. Night Beam says the targeted card can't be activated in response to Night Beam, but I didn't chain to your Night Beam. I chained to my own dark deal. Got it. Genichiro's mind filled with question marks. Is that so? The shadow duelist was doubtful. His face said, are you sure you're not BSing me? Dude, you really shouldn't be betting your life if you don't even understand this, Kira said, squinting. Of course I get it. Genichiro mumbled, pretending. He honestly didn't, but since the field had resolved, it must be right. To be fair, Kira wasn't BSing. This was basic rules knowledge. As long as another effect is chained in between, the target isn't restricted by Night Beam. Not bad, kid. Genichiro narrowed his eyes. No wonder you beat Rex Raptor. A soul like yours is worth the sacrifice. Kira ignored him and continued resolving the effects. Reggie break, discard a card to destroy any card on the field. He discarded a card. I destroy your Dark Triceratops. A demonic hand summoned by storm clouds unleashed a bolt of lightning, obliterating Genichiro's monster. Also, the card I discarded was Card of Compensation, anime card, which lets me draw 2 cards. Draw power in the anime is so satisfying. TCH, even Night Beam couldn't save Dark Triceratops. Genichiro scowled at his lost monster, but it wasn't a big deal. He set a card. I set another card, then play spell Card of Demise. Kira. No way, Card of Demise? Kaiba's favorite draw engine in the anime. Fill your hand to 5, but discard everything after 5 turns. But in Yu-Gi-Oh!, 5 turns is a lifetime. Compared to this, Pot of Greed is nothing. Years later, the real card was heavily nerfed, draw only up to 3, no special summons, no inflicting damage, and you have to discard everything at the end phase, but it's still playable. Any serious duelist would want this card. Kira had looked for it, but never found it. In the anime, only Kaiba used it. Maybe it was a billionaire exclusive promo. Never thought he'd see one here. He was seriously drooling. But it's fine. If this is a shadow duel and he wins, the opponent's soul is gone, the deck becomes ownerless, so picking it up is just recycling. Better than letting it gather dust. Genichiro paused as he prepared to draw. He suddenly felt uneasy. That kid's eyes just got really, really hungry. Chapter 26, Can't even duel anymore. Card of Demise, draw up. Genichiro drew, then revealed a card. I tribute my 2 Doomsday tokens for a tribute summon. In a storm of tributes, a hulking figure appeared. Genichiro paused, then grinned smugly. Ha, Rex Raptor once had this card, but that idiot lost it in the tournament. I'll never let it leave my deck. Watch the Dragonborn of Light and Shadow, dwelling in the heart of an evil knight. Level 7, Serpent Knight Dragon, summon. Serpent Knight Dragon, ATK 2350. Kira thought, don't worry, it won't leave your deck. Because I'm taking all of them. But he put on a surprised face for courtesy. Serpent Knight Dragon. Rex Raptor's old ace, second only to Red Eye's Black Dragon. Its attack is just 50 less than Red Eye's, not bad. Genichiro was even prouder. And this is only the beginning. Tremble in fear and bow before power. So strong, so powerful. So I activate a set card. Kira flipped a back row. Trap, bottomless trap hole. When a monster with 1500 plus ATK is summoned, destroy and banish it. A vortex opened, and Serpent Knight Dragon, barely finished materializing, was sucked into another dimension. Genichiro. He was still mid-posing but now looked like a total clown. If Batman ever needs a new Joker, this guy's ready. He was thinking, you had this in your back row and you're acting like my monster's strong. Am I here for your amusement? For the first time since becoming a shadow duelist, Genichiro couldn't smile. 2 bosses lost in 1 turn, anyone's nerves would fray. But it wasn't over. Humph, not bad, but don't get cocky. Now you'll see true despair. But even he didn't realize his smile was gone. Activate set card, spell Foolish Burial. Genichiro said, send a monster from my deck to the graveyard. I send Balloon Lizard to the grave. He searched and sent the card. Next, activate the set card, Continuous Trap Limit Reverse. Genichiro said, revive a monster with 1000 or less ATK from my grave. I revive Balloon Lizard. Balloon Lizard, ATK 500. Then from my hand, spell Ultra Evolution Pill. Use a reptile as a tribute to a special summon a dinosaur from my hand. I tribute Balloon Lizard. The spell glowed, enveloping the lizard. It rapidly evolved, growing in size. From the depths of time, breaking free from endless ages, now descend. Evolve, level 8. Super Ancient Dino Beast. Super Ancient Dino Beast, ATK 2700. Even after getting wrecked, he summoned another boss in a single turn. Who else can do that? Could Rex Raptor do it? Genichiro felt invincible, ready to laugh out loud. What's he gonna do, play another bottomless? Activate Trap of Darkness. Kira snapped his fingers, calm. Can only activate when I'm below 3000 LP. Pay 1000 LP, this card copies the effect of any normal trap in my graveyard. Kira, LP 3000-2000. I choose, of course. The data on his set card shifted, transforming into another card. Trap Bottomless Trap Hole. When a monster with 1500 plus ATK is summoned, destroy and banish it. Genichiro. He reached out desperately for his newly summoned monster, but Super Ancient Dino Beast just gave him a sad look before tumbling into the abyss. Genichiro. Another bottomless, again. Did you buy these in bulk? He started to wear the mask of pain. Strangely, of the two here, he was supposed to be the bringer of darkness and pain. But after half a duel, it was him suffering. He realized for the first time, his opponent was even darker than he was. All his darkness was just superficial mental and physical torture. But the other guy was just naturally dark, he could ruin you just by playing cards. He wanted to say, dude, I'm a shadow duelist, but your playstyle is just too dark. What if someone like this became a shadow duelist? I set 2 cards, turn end, he said gloomily. Nothing else to do. But there was still hope. Even if he'd been wrecked, his back row defense was solid. My turn, draw, said Kurd. First, spell card of spell containment. Anime card, draw 2 cards, but no other spells this turn. He drew 2. Now, flip my set monster Witch of the Black Forest. Witch of the Black Forest, ATK 1100. I tribute Witch of the Black Forest to special summon. He paused, glancing at his side. The beautiful spirit beside him, a pale, expressionless face in white robes, nodded slightly. Maybe it was a spirit link between master and familiar, but he could sense her will. He nodded back. I'll leave it to you. He turned back to the duel. Tribute Witch of the Black Forest special summon. Silent Magician. Ancient blue patterns, moonlit magic circles, a slender figure in white appeared, silver hair cascading, her staff shining like starlight. Silent Magician, ATK 1000. It's here the spirit. Genichiro eyed her warily, but she was calm, gazing forward as if he didn't exist. Silent Magician can't be normal summoned, only by tributing a spellcaster. Kira explained. Also, Witch of the Black Forest's effect activates when sent to the graveyard, add a monster with 1500 or less def from deck to hand. A once forbidden searcher, now nerfed in the real game, but in the anime, there's no such restriction. Genichiro snorted ha, monsters with less than 1500 def? What trash! Kira, I add Jinzo Psychic Shocker to my hand. Genichiro nearly vomited blood. That thing has 1500 def. Jinzo Psychic Shocker, ATK 2400, def 1500. The ace of Joey Wheeler in the anime, just barely qualifies. That's the witch's power. You never know what monsters are hiding under 1500 def. Jester Kofi effect in, if I have a monster, special summon in attack mode. Jester Kofi, ATK 0. Tribute Jester Kofi to tribute summon. Level 6, Jinzo Psychic Shocker. The Jester's form dissolved into light, then reformed in a swirling storm. Energy burst forth, a metallic body, crackling electricity. Jinzo Psychic Shocker, summoned. Jinzo Psychic Shocker, ATK 2400. Genichiro felt himself breaking. Jinzo was Joey's ace, famous for shutting down traps. As long as it's on the field, Genichiro's back row is useless. But the real kicker. You're telling me this thing's def is exactly 1500? Not a point more, not a point less? Genichiro almost wondered if his opponent altered the card's stats for this combo. Silent Magician's attack increases by 500 for each card in my hand. I have 2, so plus 1000. Silent Magician, ATK 1000-2000. Now, combined with Jinzo, that's 4400 damage, enough to end it. Battle. It's over. Kira waved his hand. Silent Magician, Jinzo direct attack. Pale magic circled the staff, while Jinzo's hands crackled with energy. Not so fast. Genichiro shouted. Quick play spell half shut. Have a monster's ATK, and it can't be destroyed in battle this turn. I target your Jinzo ATK halved. Traps were sealed, but he could use spells. This would reduce the total damage to 3200. He might survive. Too late. Kira snapped his fingers. Silent Magician effect activates. Once per turn, when a spell is activated, negate it. Genichiro. Wait, negate spells, and with Jinzo on the field, traps are sealed. A double lock? He finally realized the horror of this setup. Which of the Black Forest can summon Silent Magician, and when she goes to the graveyard she fetches Jinzo. Silent Magician negates spells, Jinzo seals traps. How do you fight this? Half Shut was instantly negated by Silent Magician's magic. Knowing he was doomed, Genichiro desperately tried to flip his last back row. Activate. Please activate. Mirror Force, reflect their attack. Reflect it all. But Jinzo folded his arms, eyes flashing red as if to say, sit down. Invisible psychic waves swept the field, and the restless Mirror Force was crushed, never to activate. Genichiro was in despair. This is negated, that is negated. How am I supposed to duel? Only my opponent gets to play. I've been stripped of my right to duel. Silent Magician and Jinzo unleashed their finishing attack, a torrent of light engulfing Genichiro and his field, tears streaming down his face as he was swallowed by the blast. Chapter 27, Understanding Anime-Style Deck Building. Genichiro, LP0. The final attack ended, taking away all his remaining life points, and the shadow duel he initiated. It also signified the true end of the duelist's life. At this moment, he could not even feel the pain from the shock of the shadow duel. Because he had already begun to lose all sensation in his body. Just now, during the duel, he had boasted loudly, saying that being caught by him was the opponent's greatest misfortune. Looking at it now, who was the unfortunate one? That boy is strong, but the feeling he gives is completely different from the strong opponents I've faced before. How should I put it? It's like, in his eyes, dueling means something completely different from everyone else. This was also the first time in Genichiro's life that, after finishing a duel, such a thought occurred to him. Dueling is so hard. Defeated, Genichiro collapsed to the ground, his body enveloped in a layer of golden light, then scattered into glowing particles and vanished. Just like those who lost duels and died in the GX Other Dimension arc. Kira sucked in a breath. Good grief, shadow duels are dangerous. Losing and even having your ashes scattered is just too horrific. Luckily, his skills were superior. But, in his view, this guy's K-language comprehension, card effect reading, was barely beginner level. How could someone this bad be a shadow duelist? It's a miracle he survived betting his life on duels. No, that's not right. Kira realized he was still thinking with his previous life's mindset. He shouldn't see it that way. In this world, for duelists, top decking is still more important, and reading card effects is just a bonus. Yeah, this is a dangerous world, you can't relax for even a moment. He had to collect more powerful cards and improve his strength. That's the real path. For example, starting right now. Kira stepped forward and picked up the duel disc that Genichiro had dropped. Since the man was gone, his deck naturally became ownerless. So Kira solemnly said, that was a good duel. Rest in peace, bro. I'll inherit your deck and your will. He pocketed the deck. As he was leaving, he felt a chill down his spine, as if a cold wind blew past. Next morning, sunlight streamed through the gap in the curtains, casting a gentle glow on the room's floor. Kira groggily opened his heavy eyelids and tried to focus his blurry vision. It looked like a girl. Silver hair fluttered, one hand holding a staff, the other covering her mouth, her spirit form half phased into his body as she lay on the bed, bright eyes peeking at him, as if examining him. But as soon as he opened his eyes, it was like a popped above her head, and she immediately ducked back into the deck inside the dual disc leaning by the table. Kira. After last night's first successful master-servant cooperation, Kira understood that the silent magician didn't mean to target him or refuse to acknowledge him as her master. She was just silent, that's all. In other words, she's just a shut-in. As the saying goes, like master like servant. If the player is antisocial, it makes sense for his spirit to be antisocial too. In any case, she had helped out a lot in last night's skirmish. As expected, in the world of Yu-Gi-Oh!, going out without an artifact or a spirit is just too dangerous. He wasn't sure if it was just psychological, but during yesterday's life or death duel, he felt that with the silent magician in the deck, something about the duel felt different. It was a hard to describe sensation. But every time he drew a card, he could faintly sense a kind of rhythm. Before, his deck was just a tool for dueling, like his dual disc. But in that match, for the first time, he had the illusion that the deck had come alive. Of course, this was all very superstitious, and maybe he was just overthinking. No matter what, I still have to get stronger. The sudden life or death duel made Kira realize once again how important it is to play well in this world. It's even more reliable than carrying a stockpile of weapons. After analyzing his recent consecutive duels, he also gained some new insights. Many anime characters' decks often make experienced players wonder, how do they even run with such random builds? But if you assume that some protagonists, anime duelists, can never brick no matter what system they run, you'll notice a common trait. Their decks are filled with stuff that makes no sense, crossed out. But they always have a solution in their deck for almost any situation. In reality, deck building pursues consistency and efficiency, but even top-tier decks occasionally encounter boards they can't break through, no matter which card they draw. Such situations are rare, but when encountered, you just surrender and move on. It doesn't affect a meta deck's status. But it's different in this world. Shadow duels are single elimination: win and you live, lose and you die, no chance to surrender or try again. So some decks that look like they're filled with nonsense are built with the idea of there's almost no board I can't handle. Similarly, real-world decks usually try to stick to 40 cards for the best consistency and lowest brick rate. But in this world, 60 card decks are the norm. No, it seems the upper limit here might be even higher. Because more cards mean more possibilities. But all of this relies on the foundation of never bricking. So only the very top duelists can pilot such decks, even mixing 4 or 5 completely different engines like Yugi and Kaiba, and still never brick as if they're dueling with 4 or 5 independent decks at once. When there's no way out, it's not impossible for them to top deck a card that wasn't even in their deck. But for ordinary people without that skill, blindly imitating the top players' builds and tactics, everyone ends up with 60+ card piles, and the more they learn, the worse they get, leading to a bizarre environment with a huge gap between the top and the bottom. So Kira felt he'd had another epiphany. Playing dirty is strong, but in this world, you can't get far with just that. For now, his opponents can be beaten with deck building alone, but in the future, he'll need to expand his playstyle and tactics. Deck building is important, and so are lucky draws and bonds. Both hands must be strong. After these recent duels, Kira realized that not only is the deck environment different from the anime, but other details aren't quite the same either. When he watched the anime, he didn't think much of it, but now that he's dueling himself, he realizes that, just like in the show, duelists here never ask if you want to chain after an effect activates. According to the rules he knew in his previous life, after activating an effect, you have to give the opponent a chance to respond, asking if they want to chain. All cards on the chain are resolved in order. Unless the opponent says no fast effects, you can't just keep comboing off. But here, that doesn't happen. Whether in the anime or with duelists Kira has faced, after activating an effect, they immediately resolve it, without giving the opponent a chance. But he found this didn't matter much, because the rules here aren't that strict about chain timing. Even if the other side starts resolving their effect, you can still chain your effects and interrupt them. That's only natural, otherwise, it would just be a competition of who can talk faster and lock the other out. And this isn't because of early, incomplete rules in the anime. Even in later series that follow the real card rules, it's still like this. From an animation production standpoint, maybe the team decided that dramatic effect was more important than strict adherence to rules. If everyone had to fully explain every chain, it might ruin some plot twists. While this isn't legal in real life, in the anime it's just for show and doesn't usually affect the outcome. Last night, Kira also realized that dueling is physically exhausting. The gym teacher at Duel Academy even emphasizes that without a good body, you can't duel well. Kira used to find that funny, but now he's starting to get it. Especially last night's life or death duel, it took a toll. He didn't notice during the duel, but afterward, he felt totally drained, unable to think, just wanting to collapse and sleep. Waking up, he finally felt refreshed, his brain back online. Winning yesterday's duel was a big gain. Jenny Cairo was a shadow duelist who lived on the edge, and his deck looked valuable. Kira estimated some cards could fetch a good price on the market, so he could sell them for what he wanted. But the most important thing was undoubtedly the anime effect card of Demise. A god tier card that draws you up to 5 cards instantly, with a discard your hand in 5 turns downside. That's a joke. Cards like Pot of Greed look like trash in comparison. Too bad there's only one. Kira felt that if he could run 3 of these, it would be a dream come true. He also really coveted the other 2 draw gods from the DM era, Roll of Fate and Card of Sanctity. Roll of Fate is Joey's roll a die and draw that many cards, then banish that many from the top of your deck. Another OP card, but nobody besides Joey ever used it, and it vanished by the GX era. Card of Sanctity is Yugi's both sides draw up to 6 cards, a busted weapon. This one was used by several people besides Yugi in DM and even appeared in GX. But Kira hadn't seen it on the market yet. The 3 DM draw gods, he wanted them all. Now, his biggest hope is the Duel Academy. Rumor has it that, once you're in, it's a whole new world, tons of rare cards that ordinary duelists can't imagine, with rumors of anything goes in-app purchases. It's almost here. Just 3 days away, the annual Duel Academy entrance exams, held at Kaiba Land. He must win. Chapter 28, We're so silent, we're too strong. A stadium shaped like a blue eyes white dragon, with countless small mirrored glass pieces forming scale-like patterns, reflecting a rainbow of light. Crowds came and went outside, the atmosphere lively yet tense. This was the site of Duel Academy's annual practical entrance exams. The student exam was split into written and practical parts. Only those who passed the written could take the practical. The practical exam ticket number was based on written exam rankings, and the difficulty of the opponent was based on your rank. The final admission score was a combination of both. Duel Academy is an elite school. Strength is emphasized in all aspects of life and study. Dorms are assigned based on grades, honor students get luxurious dorms and better food and services. Of course, there are also differences in credit rewards, priority in purchasing rare cards, discounts, etc. There are 3 dorm levels, named after the 3 Egyptian gods from Duel Monsters. The top dorm is Obelisk Blue, followed by Ra Yellow, and the lowest, looked down on by all, is Slifer Red. Every time Kira saw these settings, he thought it was totally Kaiba Sito's doing. After all, in Battle City, Kaiba had Obelisk, while Slifer belonged to his rival, Dark Yugi. So, you can imagine, when Kaiba was dividing the dorms, he must have been gritting his teeth, that damn Yugi, after beating me, just left without a word. Put Yugi's dorm no, Slifer dorm at the very bottom. Minion, yes, President. The written exam scores were released a day before. As expected, Kira easily took first place exam ticket 001. When Kira got this ticket, he recalled. Wasn't there a character who got first place in the original TV show? Did I take his spot? Oh, it was Bastion Misawa. But it doesn't matter, he was just a good student, and deleting him wouldn't affect the plot. At least he didn't drag Jaden down, which already made him rare among those who can slack off more GX teammates. Kira arrived at the exam entrance. All examinees had to sign in before entering. Sitting at the door was one of Duel Academy's teachers, Nurse Fonda Fontaine, wearing an obelisk blue vest and skirt, her crossed white legs exuding a certain allure. She was the type that makes you, when recalling your childhood, suddenly realize she's so grown up. And wonder, why did I only notice the cards as a kid? But Kira felt nothing. His mind was only on which deck to use and how to play in the upcoming exam. A true duelist is focused and undistracted. Name: Fujiki Kira. Exam ticket number 001. So you're this year's number 1? Impressive. Teacher Fonda smiled warmly. It seemed seeing a somewhat handsome boy put her in a better mood. All right, register your usual deck, she said kindly. She had volunteered to do registration because she was curious about what this year's new students looked like. This first place left a good impression, not just smart and good looking, but also polite and elegant. He must be an outgoing, sunny boy. We have to register a deck. This surprised Kira. In this world, duelists do seem to have signature decks and ace monsters. But Kira always changed his deck to avoid being countered and planned to decide what to use after seeing the examiner's deck. Does registering here mean you can't change it later? Fonda tilted her head in confusion. A duelist entering Duel Academy doesn't know his deck? She helpfully added, oh, it's not a strict check, just a simple registration. Some students' decks may not have a clear theme, so you can register by common type, attribute, or strategy. Kira thought it over. Then my usual deck is a spell card engine, with traps splashed in, spellcasters splashed in, warriors splashed in, machines splashed in. Teacher Fonda. Are you sure that's called a deck? Haha, you're funny, she forced a smile. Some students' decks are mixed. Then just tell me your ace or favorite card. Kira pondered. His monster engine changed, but no matter what, he always kept generic traps, interruptions, and draw engines. He reached for a pot of greed, then stopped. He sensed a vague sinister aura. Out of the corner of his eye, he saw the normally reclusive silent magician girl had silently floated out, visible only to him in her spirit form, standing by his side. She didn't say a word or do anything, but her eyes seemed to say, so I'm not your favorite after all. Kira took a deep breath. Some unknown survival instinct made him put the pot of greed away and pull out Silent Magician. You're using Silent Magician? Teacher Ponda exclaimed. That's the ultra-rare card used by Duel King Yugi Muto, right? Her respect immediately deepened. Registration complete, Kira felt a huge weight lift from his heart. Looking back, he saw the spirit girl had vanished. Kira sighed with relief. Close call. Good thing I'm quick on my feet. This should deepen my bond with my spirit, right? Though he might not even use Silent Magician in this exam. But it doesn't matter. True Silent doesn't even need to appear to win. Our Silent deck is just too strong. Chapter 29, Professional Examiners Don't Get Mad. Inside the exam hall, Kira stood at the top of the audience stands, scanning the crowd, quickly spotting several familiar faces. For example, the Duel Academy's Zane Truesdale, also observing from above, and the most frequently seen female background character in GX's early episodes, Alexis Rhodes. There was also Chaz Princeton in his obelisk blue uniform, along with his two minions. Chaz and Ulysses were direct entry students, the top of the junior division. Only direct entries like them were placed in obelisk blue from the start. Other exam students, even with perfect scores, could only enter RA yellow. This is why Bastion, despite being first, was only in RA yellow. Only with excellent later performance could one move up to obelisk blue. Kira looked around. Though it was exam time, a certain familiar jellyfish head was missing. If nothing went wrong, Jaden's train was probably late today. At this moment, he was probably meeting Yugi and getting a winged Kuruba, the first spirit card he used in early Dark Duels. In the GX story, there's no explanation for why Yugi would randomly give a lucky jellyfish kid a spirit. But if you include the later movie Bonds Beyond Time, you can guess that Yugi had already met Jaden from the future, so he saw him as a comrade. Exam number 001, Fujiki Kira. It was finally starting. Kira got up and headed to the duel field. He'd already observed the examiners' decks. They rotated a few test decks, and after watching several duels, he'd pretty much figured them out. Nothing he couldn't handle. A minute earlier, Chaz and his minions were sitting confidently in the stands. According to the schedule, number 001 should be up next, one minion said. Wonder who's first this year? The other, who cares? This year's king is already set to be Chaz-sama. Chaz smirked. There's only one ruler of this academy. If that guy is strong enough, maybe he'll be a worthy opponent. Otherwise, being king here for 3 years would be boring. You're right, boss. Ha ha ha. All three laughed. Then the announcement sounded. Exam ticket 001, Fujiki Kira, please report to field 1. Exam ticket 001. The laughter stopped. Minion 1, Nanny? That name don't tell me. Minion 2, boss. Both turned to look for Ches but he was gone. Hey? Boss, why are you under the bench? Though a bit sore, Ches didn't care. He crawled out, eyes wide, staring at field 1. And saw the familiar figure enter. The king's dream ended before it began. He hadn't even enrolled, and he was already ruled by the power of darkness. Why is it you again? Hello, teacher. Kira greeted the examiner politely. The examiner was a stone-faced tough guy, wearing sunglasses. Let's duel. Yes, sir. Kira readied his duel disc, but before starting, he frowned and asked. Wait, teacher. Hypothetically, just hypothetically, if I win, but you feel upset or dissatisfied during the duel, is there a chance I'd fail? Don't worry. The examiner kept his poker face. We're professionally trained, not low-class duelists. No matter what happens, I won't get mad. He paused, then added. Besides, the final score is decided by Chief Examiner Professor Crowlier, not me. I see. Kira felt relieved. He remembered Professor Crowlier, nicknamed Pot of Greed for his resemblance to the card art. Though he seemed like a villain at first, he only targeted bad students. For top students like Bastion, even if a baseball hit him in the eye, he'd laugh it off as long as you keep your grades up. So as first in the written test, Kira figured the professor wouldn't give him a hard time. Duel. X2. Kira, LP 4000. Examiner, LP 4000. I'll go first. Draw. Kira drew 3 cards. I set 1 monster face down and 2 back row cards. End turn. On the platform, Chaz was already suffocating at this starting hand. That familiar stench, that aura from the underworld. My turn. Draw, said the examiner. I normal summon Gene Warped Warwolf in attack position. Gene Warped Warwolf, ATK 2000. Kira immediately recognized this as one of the test deck's level 4 beatdown, mostly 2000 plus ATK monsters, supported by equips to easily hit 2-3000 ATK for field control. A tough deck for new students. Some students in the stands commented, oh, number 1 is facing the beatdown deck. Yeah, glad I didn't get that. Poor guy. Only Ches clenched his fists, silent. Poor? No, no, no. The poor one is the examiner. He's unlucky enough to face this kind of underworld deck. Bad luck for 8 generations. Attack with Gene Warped Warwolf. Kira flipped his set monster Old Vindictive Magician. Old Vindictive Magician, Def 600. Old Vindictive Magician flip effect activates, Kira said. When flipped, destroy 1 monster on your opponent's field. I destroy your Gene Warped Warwolf. The old magician fired a spell before dying, and the warwolf exploded. The warwolf lasted less than 10 seconds, but that's still normal. The examiner didn't realize anything was wrong yet. A monster with a flip destruction effect, hey. Battle phase ends. The examiner played a card. I activate the spell card Return of the Doomed. Revive a monster destroyed this turn in attack position. Anime effect. A vortex to the underworld opened, and with a flash, the warwolf returned, a little battered. I activate my set card Trap card Terrible Deal. Kira pressed his dual disc, flipping his back row. When your opponent activates a spell, pay 1000 LP to randomly discard a card from their hand. Kira, LP 4000 LP 3000. Nanny. The examiner was shocked, 1 card vanished from his hand. It's not over. Chain with another trap Torrential Tribute. Kira activated another back row. When a monster is summoned, special summoned, or flipped, destroy all monsters on the field. A flood erupted, sweeping the field. The poor warwolf didn't even get to stand up before being swept away. Examiner. Chapter 30, It's normal because he's a dog. The sunglasses examiner was beginning to understand why this examinee had come over before the duel to ask if the examiner's mood would affect his test score. Because if it did, he now had the urge to draw a huge X on this kid's file and tell him to get lost as far as possible. It was only the first turn, and he'd already lost half his hand with an empty field, not to mention even getting a Sakuretsu armor discarded without even a chance to set it. A powerful trap that can destroy attacking monsters, gone to the graveyard before it even touched the field. Of course, the thought only flashed by. The examiner with sunglasses suppressed that impulse. Calm. Stay calm. He was an examiner now, a professional one. No matter what happened, he couldn't lose his cool. Kira, sporting the candidate number 001, entered the arena. His duel had already been the most watched among all current candidates, and after just this round, even more eyes were drawn here, many growing curious about him. That guy, Kira, is this year's number one. Hey, Alexis leaned on the railing. How should I put it, his dueling feels a bit different from what I imagined for a number one. On Chaz's side. Lackey A, it's starting. That Kira is going at it again. Exactly. This is it. Lackey B chimed in. This crazy plays, this direction, even Kaz-sama got wrecked by him. You guys are exaggerating too much. Chaz muttered. He had at least put up a fight for a few turns before falling into total defeat. His face turned dark and a little twisted. But if anyone thinks that's all he can do, they're way too naive. For that damn dog, this is only the beginning. The two lackeys looked at him with sympathy. Chaz-sama has experience. Yeah, makes you feel sorry for him. Chaz, shut up. My turn. Draw. Kira calmly inserted another card into his duel disc. Spell card, Delinquent Duo, pay 1000 life points, randomly discard one card from your opponent's hand, then your opponent chooses one more card to discard. Kira, LP 3000 LP 2000. A blue and a red devil appeared and each grabbed a card from the examiner's hand, laughing mockingly as they took away his cards. Examiner. Secret technique, hand destruction jutsu. He pushed up his sunglasses, looking at the one card left in his hand. Continuous spell Kishido Spirit. Effect, monsters on your field with the same ATK as the opponents in battle are not destroyed. Completely useless. He was, for all intents and purposes, out of place. If this were an anime, the examiner's head would be spewing steam like a volcano about to erupt. The only thing stopping him from smashing his dual disc and rolling up his sleeves was his professionalism and constant self-reminders. I'm a professional. Don't get angry. Don't. Kira, normal summon Witch of the Black Forest. Witch of the Black Forest, ATK 1100. Witch of the Black Forest, direct attack. Examiner, LP 4000 LP 2900. The examiner stood there, expression black, taking the hit without moving, as if he was charging his rage meter. End turn. From the stands, Lackey A, it's really like Chaz-sama said. Lackey B shook his head, even starting to feel a bit sorry for the unlucky examiner. Chaz said nothing but interlaced his fingers and leaned forward to watch the duel, an unconscious smile forming on his lips. Ha ha, ha ha ha. He couldn't stop his mouth from curving up. Honestly, he wasn't even sure why. But seeing the examiner suffer down there, just like he did in the Moonlight Cup, he felt a strange sense of satisfaction. Only then did he realize, when you're not the one being trolled, watching a hellish duel can be so much fun. Lackey B peeked at Chaz's growing grin and whispered, "Boss, your smile is getting creepy." My turn. Drawl. The examiner took a deep breath, forcing himself to focus on the duel. I activate the spell Silent Doom from my hand. I can revive a normal monster from my graveyard in defense position, but it can't attack this turn. The card I'm reviving is the one you made me discard last turn. He retrieved a card from his graveyard slot. Millennium Shield. A huge shield rose from the underworld, blocking the examiner's field. Millennium Shield, Def 3000. It's Millennium Shield. A student immediately exclaimed. Said to be a legendary shield from ancient Egypt's royal line, even the legendary Blue Eyes White Dragon's burst stream couldn't break it, a truly indestructible monster. End turn. He wished he could do more, but he had no cards left to play. Still, with a shield this tough, he doubted his opponent could break through so easily. If he could just last another turn, maybe there was hope. My turn, Kira said. I activate the equip spell Wonder Wand from my hand. Only spellcasters can equip it. I equip it to a Witch of the Black Forest. The equipped monster gains 500 ATK. Witch of the Black Forest, ATK 1100-1600. Wonder Wand's second effect, send both the equipped monster and this card to the graveyard to draw 2 cards. I send Witch of the Black Forest and Wonder Wand to the grave to draw 2. He drew 2 new cards, then straight up searched his deck with his dual disc. Witch of the Black Forest effect, when sent from the field to the graveyard, add a monster with 1500 or less def from deck to hand. I add this card to my hand. He displayed the card between two fingers. Mahavelo, def 1400, added to hand, Kira said. Then normal summon Mahavelo in attack position. Mahavelo, ATK 1550. Mahavelo, originally in Yugi's deck, was later given to T, an important card in the anime. Then I activate the equip spell Big Bang Shot from my hand. Kira slid another card into his duel disc, its image appearing in the back row. Big Bang Shot increases the equipped monster's ATK by 400. Also, when it attacks a defense position monster, if its ATK exceeds def, the excess is inflicted as piercing damage. The examiner understood, so you're planning to raise your ATK and pierce through my defense monster for damage. But Millennium Shield has 3000 def. Breaking through for lethal would require stacking up to 5900 ATK, almost impossible. You think I'm equipping it to my monster? Kira smiled, pointing at the Millennium Shield. I'm equipping Big Bang Shot to your Millennium Shield. Millennium Shield, ATK 0400. Examiner. Equipping to an opponent's monster? What? Does he think this game is about giving your opponent resources, too? Now I activate the quick play spell Mystical Space Typhoon, destroying a spell or trap on the field. I'll destroy my own Big Bang Shot. Examiner. Even more bewildered. Don't tell me he's just giving away cards for fun. A black tornado lifted Kira's spell card, then a lightning bolt shattered it. This is pointless, the examiner couldn't help but say. Even if you do this, my Millennium Shield. Nanny. He stared, shocked. His field was suddenly empty. The Millennium Shield was gone. Wait. Where's my shield? Where's my big shield? He couldn't help but blurt out, where did my shield go? Kira smiled. I sent it to another dimension. Examiner. What the hell? Want me to send you to another dimension? Seeing the examiner on the verge of exploding, Kira patiently explained, the equip spell Big Bang Shot not only increases ATK and gives piercing effect, it also has a side effect. When it leaves the field, the equipped monster is banished. The audience erupted in shock. Equipping a buff to the opponent's monster, then using the side effect to banish it. Alexis looked complicated. That's really impressive, but also. She couldn't find the right words. But what she thought could only be summed up in one word. Hellish. Yeah, this is the sort of tactic that guy would come up with, Chaz said. At first, he was surprised, but quickly accepted it. Well, because the guy on the other side is a dog. Such tactics just seem natural to him. Kira calmly revealed two more cards. Equip spell Axe of Despair and Mage Power, both equipping to Mahavelo. The black spellcaster opened her eyes, a demon-headed axe floated beside her, and she was bathed in golden light. Axe of Despair increases ATK by 1000. Mage Power increases ATK by 500 for every spell/trap I control. I have two, so that's plus 1000. Total increase, 2000. Mahavelo, ATK 1550 3550. Now, Mahavelo's effect. For each equip card attached, she gains 500 ATK. With two equips, that's plus 1000. Mahavelo, ATK 3550 4550. The venue was in an uproar. 4550 ATK. Cirrus, not yet on stage, was stunned. That's higher than Obelisk the Tormentor, no, even higher than Blue Eye's Ultimate Dragon. The highest ATK seen today. This guy can just casually reach that kind of ATK. Lackey B almost fell out of his seat. Chaz wasn't shocked, but his face only grew darker. Yes, he'd long realized this dog wasn't just a troll. He suspected that for this guy, trolling was just for fun. Or rather, tilting his opponent was part of his tactics. But even putting that aside, this guy. He's just strong. Because it was obvious the examiner was out of cards and defenses. Kira could have just pierced through Millennium Shield. But he didn't. He thought banishing Millennium Shield was more fun. Mahavelo, Kira said, direct attack. Examiner, LP 2900 LP0. Chapter 31, Dueling really can bring happiness. Velian Crowlier, Italian. A professor at Duel Academy, and quite a character known for ending every sentence with no ne and frequently shouting Mamma Mia. And, of course, for looking like he's cosplaying Pot of Greed. He was also the head of practical dueling at Duel Academy. In other words, the Academy's best duelist among the faculty. Early in the anime, he was cast as a villain, always picking on Jaden. But later, it was revealed he was just steeped in elitist education, disapproving of bad students, but fiercely protective of good ones. As the story progressed, he grew with the students, proving himself a good teacher at heart. At this moment, Professor Crowlier sat at the chief examiner's seat, watching Kira's duel, lost in thought. The number one new student had always been his focus. Every year, he'd observe their deck and tactics from the entrance exam, customizing a training plan to help them improve fastest. But this year's number one. He couldn't say he wasn't strong, but his dueling was certainly unique. Professor, as you requested, we've pulled up that candidate's deck info, a staff said. Crowlier nodded slightly and opened the faculty terminal to check. Let's see what deck. At first glance, he was nearly blinded by the long list of red traps. Mamma mia! Crowlier exclaimed in shock. What the heck is this? Kira's test deck was mostly spellcasters and only a handful of monsters. What about the rest? A bunch of draw engines like Pot of Greed, Graceful Charity, and then stuff like Delinquent Duo, Confiscation, and dragged down into the grave all psychological warfare cards. The rest was a sea of red. Just looking at it sent chills down his spine. This, what they? Even the other examiners were dumbfounded. Is he here to win, or does he just have a grudge against the opponent? Miss Fonda, who checked candidates at the gate, leaned over curiously. When she saw the deck list, she jumped in shock. Thinking back to that polite, sunny boy she met at the entrance. Was this his deck? Not that she was biased, but anyone seeing this would think he wasn't here to win, but to get revenge. Crowlier fell silent. By academic standards, this was an unorthodox deck. If a student submitted this as a project, he'd likely fail them without hesitation. But looking at the examiner, returning to his seat with a thunderous face and a pulsing vein on his forehead. Well, who won? Crowlier pondered. Granted, the examiner used a standard exam deck, not his own, so he was at a disadvantage. This student was certainly creative, maybe even showed rare talent. Still, to academy professors, this was a side path at best. Not mainstream, not likely to go far among real top players. But for a first year, Crowlier was very satisfied. Good, a student with ideas and guts. With his years of experience, he could spot a rare talent at a glance. He quietly decided to add Kira to his list of key protégés for special training. At the start of the term, he'd apply for him to join the elite program, meaning extra deck upgrades and priority for rare cards each term. He was confident he could steer this wayward genius back onto the right path with the Academy's sound, orthodox methods. He then watched the second-ranked student, Bastian Misawa. Crowlier nodded in satisfaction. A strong duelist, obviously skilled at calculation and advantage. Much more normal. Crowlier felt good about this year's crop. Just then, a staff rushed over and whispered to him. Crowlier raised an eyebrow. Late for the exam? Train delay? What's his candidate number? 110, said the staff. Over 100? That's near the bottom. Crowlier immediately lost interest. If he can't even be on time for such an important exam, he doesn't care anyway. We don't need slackers. A white-haired examiner adjusted his glasses. That's not fair, Professor. The exam isn't over. Shouldn't we give him a chance? No, absolutely not, Crowlier waved him off. Students with high numbers were already on his blacklist. Now a latecomer? No way. But then his phone rang. Crowlier picked up. Yes, Chancellor? Yes, I understand. Yes, there was a latecomer, but, well, okay, yes, Chancellor. He hung up, looking grim. Damn. Not only the bottom of the written test and late, but a student with connections. Whoever he was, he'd gotten the Chancellor involved. But the Chancellor had only asked that he be allowed to take the test, not that he had to pass. Crowlier stood up with a snort. Fine. What's the student's name? Jaden Yuki, someone said. Good. I'll handle his exam myself. Crowlier swept his coat dramatically. Hey! The other examiners were shocked. The chief examiner himself? Rare indeed. Wait, Professor. Someone hurriedly handed him a standard exam deck. Please use. I don't need that. Crowlier ignored them and left. He'd use his deck, the famous, ultra-rare ancient gear deck. He would show this slacker the harshness of the real world. The sunglasses examiner sat back down. It had been 10 minutes, but the more he thought of that duel, the angrier he became. Especially remembering how, before the duel, the student had asked if the examiner's mood would affect the grade. At the time, he hadn't thought much. Now, that polite face seemed like pure mockery. As he brooded, he unconsciously looked up and saw Professor Crowlier dueling some jellyfish-haired slacker on the field. With Skyscraper active, my elemental hero Flame Wingman gains 1000 ATK when battling a monster with higher ATK, putting it above your ancient gear golem. And when Flame Wingman destroys a monster by battle, it deals damage equal to that monster's ATK. Go, fire shot! Crowlier, Mamma Mia! With a huge explosion, Professor Crowlier clutched his head and collapsed, his ancient gear golem crumbling into rubble. Crowlier, LP0. The whole crowd was stunned. The Academy's top professor lost? With his legendary ancient gears, no less, to a bottom-ranked slacker? And that wasn't even all. The slacker, Jaden, jumped up, made a taunting gesture, and grinned, I won. That was a fun duel, Professor Crowlier. For some reason. Seeing the chief examiner beaten and face down, the sunglasses examiner finally smiled again. He suddenly felt a lot less angry. Turns out Jaden was right. Dueling does bring happiness. Chapter 32, How can you play Yu-Gi-Oh without money? Sea Island, Duel Academy HQ. Chancellor Shepard finally had a break after a busy day. He made himself some tea and checked this year's exam results and a few duels he was interested in. He hadn't expected Professor Crowlier to personally test that jellyfish-headed newcomer. But Jaden Yuki was impressive, defeating the Academy's top duelist on his turf. Shepard sipped his tea, satisfied with Jaden's potential. He next checked out this year's #1 practical duel. Rumor had it his written test was almost perfect, beating second-place Bastion Misawa by a hair. Let's see his deck and duel performance. What the hell is this? Shepard scratched his shiny head. He'd been in the dueling world for years but had never really seen a deck like this. Well, it did remind him of the deck used by the legendary Duel King, Yugi Mito, in his later years. Many who challenged him ended up furious, their faces twisted in frustration just like that poor examiner in this duel. But over the years, the game had evolved, and such secret techniques faded from the meta, as Kaiba Sito's influence set the mainstream direction. After Yugi's retirement, almost no one could pull it off. But unlike the traditionalist professors, Shepard didn't insist students follow the textbook. It's just that most students lacked creativity. Yet, with his experience, he felt Kira just might have the talent. Could it be the Academy had found a rare genius this year? Looking at Kira and Jaden's names on the roster, Shepard leaned back, sipping tea with a pleased smile. 2 prodigies in 1 year, what a joy! Duel Academy was efficient. Within days, candidates could check their results and admission status. As expected, Kira got his acceptance letter. With a month until school started, there was no rush to move in. However, the new freshmen were already registered as the incoming class. Kira, with his new student number, logged into Kaiba Corp's card system. As expected, more cards were now available for purchase. He quickly browsed, making a list of possibly useful cards, then analyzed them. Most were situational or combo pieces, set aside for later. The ones he decided to buy immediately were the staples, the fun red traps. For example, Karma Cut, which banishes an opponent's monster by discarding a card, and the infamous Ring of Destruction, which blows up a monster and deals damage to both players equal to its ATK, perfect for forcing a draw. He was even more surprised to find hand traps available. Hand traps you can activate from your hand have always been strong, since unlike set traps, they're harder to anticipate and clear. Their origin traces back to the Mascot Kuruba, which can negate battle damage by discarding it. So when he saw Kuruba among the rare cards, Kira bought it instantly, surprised it hadn't been snatched up. But then, in the pre-built theme decks section, he spotted the legendary elemental hero Prekin. That made sense. Crowlier had called Jaden's deck common in the first episode, so at this point, hero decks were still basic. Every duelist has a bit of a hero dream, so Kira checked it out. And instantly gave up. Only the 4 infamous useless heroes, 2 or 3 fusion heroes, and a pile of weird support cards that even Jaden only used once in the anime. Just looking it over, he could tell it was unplayable. Every spell/trap worked only with specific heroes, and even if you managed to draw them, the combos were too situational, guaranteed to brick your hand and make you doubt life. So the fact Jaden could win with this stuff was already a miracle. Elemental hero was out. Kira kept browsing. Then he found Cirrus Roid theme deck. He perked up and checked the card list. Roids were never meta, just a fun deck. But there was one card Cirrus used that, after nearly 20 years, still hadn't been printed in real life, Kaiba. Sure enough. Kira locked on immediately and bought the whole deck. You couldn't buy singles, only the full precon, but it was cheap, and even for just that one card, it was worth it. Kaiba, level 1, ATK 200, Def 400. Effect. You can discard this card to make a direct attack's battle damage to you 0. While in the graveyard, you can banish it to make a direct attack's battle damage to you 0 once only. Anime effect. This card was never printed in real life, only in the PSP game Tag Force 3 and Duel Links. It's essentially 2 hand traps in one, a lifesaver in the GX era, where hand traps were rare. Kira, enjoying the thrill of shopping, built up his collection, but his wallet was shrinking fast. He decided to keep some money in reserve. Logging out, he sighed and gazed skyward. How can you play Yu-Gi-Oh without money? Chapter 33, Good Brothers. Somewhere in the city. At the end of a narrow, dimly lit alley, although right in the middle of the city, it feels completely isolated from the world. This is a place only those who know the right way can enter. A bar. Soft lights cast dappled shadows on the surroundings. The air is thick with the scent of alcohol and tobacco, and something even heavier and murkier. An old-fashioned gramophone plays a strange melody, each note seeming to blend into the ever-present shadows. It's as if an invisible darkness envelopes the whole space. This is a gathering place for shadow duelists. But it's not the only one. Although shadow dueling is still just a rumor among regular people nowadays, just as in the first season of GX, even Jaden and his classmates once believed in science and refused to accept the existence of shadow duels in reality, so many years after the DM era, underground networks for shadow dueling have already formed worldwide. Shadow duelists, like assassins who can't show their faces, are scattered everywhere. Many operate solo, taking on jobs through the underground network for money. There are also some organizations. This development was inevitable. After all, shadow duels are incredibly efficient and versatile, leaving traditional assassination and espionage methods in the dust. By dueling, you can eliminate a target without a trace, no guns are needed. If necessary, you can even add extra restrictions during the shadow duel so the victim is reduced to particles, leaving no remains at all. An assassination isn't all they do. If you can beat someone important in a life or death duel, you can easily pry any secret from them, or even brainwash them into obedience, influencing major events in the business or political world. Of course, where there's a spear, there's a shield. The rise of this dark profession naturally attracted the attention of the upper class. These days, important people either have top-tier dueling skills themselves or are protected by duelist bodyguards. This bar, named Blood Moon, is one such organization where shadow duelists gather. The bartender is a woman with scarlet eyes and an eye-catching figure, generously displaying her assets to her colleagues. That's why, during meetings, 90% of the time everyone's eyes are on her even though she barely says anything. A man in a suit at the bar slowly finishes his drink, sets down his glass, and says idly, "One of our colleagues has left us." "Oh. That's a shame. Too bad." Everyone expresses regret, but their gaze never strays from the bartender. She swirls her glass with elegant, practiced movements. The liquor spins in the glass, and her arm movements set the rest of her body swaying, prompting a chorus of "oh" from those watching. The man in the suit grows annoyed. "We lost a comrade. Can't you guys at least pretend to care?" Someone pipes up, "Aren't you staring over there while you talk, too?" The man ponders for 2 seconds, then says righteously, "I can't help it." The bar bursts into laughter, the atmosphere lively. "But seriously, Jenny Cairo was my good brother," the man in the suit says solemnly. "We knew each other before joining this organization. I can't just pretend nothing happened." A guy with a center part tries to comfort him, "We're all in this business, we know the rules. Win and you live, lose and you die. So many duels, so many life and death moments. Sometimes you win, sometimes you die, that's just how it is." Jenny Cairo knew that too. Besides, Another adds, do you even know who did it? Everyone in our line of work has a dozen or so enemies. Before leaving headquarters, Genichiro was drinking with me the night before, and said he heard a rumor that the legendary duelist Rex Raptor was making a comeback. The man in the suit says quietly. Genichiro was very interested. Both dinosaur users, he'd always said he wanted to go up against Rex Raptor. Man, that's a legendary duelist, says another on the center part. Are you sure about this, Fujimoto? Genichiro wasn't weak, if even he couldn't win. Genichiro never beat me, either. The man named Fujimoto smiles slightly, stubs out his cigarette, and gazes upward at a 45-degree angle through the haze. There are times when a man just has to go for it. Besides, as duelists, if we're always content with the status quo and never dare to challenge the strong, how can we ever improve? The other guy eyes him, if you're so ambitious, why don't you go challenge Yugi Muto? Fujimoto, in the middle of his grandstanding, chokes up, holds it in for a few seconds, and finally responds gloomily. Yugi Muto is way too strong. He meant challenging the strong to improve, not to die. If you know your win rate is 0 but still go, that's just being an idiot. Fujimoto sighs, reminiscing. Genichiro and I were both outcasts in the dueling world. We met through underground duels. I once promised him that if anything happened to him, I'd take care of his wife and kids. But I never thought he'd go so suddenly, without even leaving a child behind, just a beautiful wife waiting for me to look after. So the matter of children will have to be handled personally by me, for my brother's sake? At this thought, he shakes his head, sighing at life's hardships. A big guy pats his shoulder. Don't be too sad, boss. If Genichiro's watching from above, knowing he has such a reliable brother, he should rest easy. You're right. Fujimoto pats his hand and nods. Then suddenly feels a chill down his spine. Did you just feel a cold wind pass by? The big guy blinks, confused. Nope. Weird. Could it be Genichiro urging me to avenge him? Fujimoto looks up solemnly. Don't worry, Genichiro, I'll find that punk Rex Raptor and drag his soul into darkness, avenging you. Elsewhere. Since his crushing defeat at the Moonlight Cup, Rex Raptor's comeback failed, so he went back into seclusion, studying his deck seriously again. He'd thought he'd make a big splash this time but ended up making a mess of things. The king failed to return, instead, he handed his head to a rookie. Especially since that rookie's record was a complete blank before this tournament. Now, whenever people see the rookie, whoa, isn't that the guy who stomped Rex Raptor? The further that newbie goes, the more Rex Raptor's name gets dragged through the mud. Years in seclusion, only to fail and become a stepping stone. Who could stand it? Fujiki Kira. Fine. I'll remember you. Rex mutters darkly. He has no choice but to find a chance for a rematch. Until he wins against that kid, he'll have to carry this stain, which will only get worse as the joke spreads. As he thinks of this, his nose suddenly itches achoo. He sneezes. Weird, why do I suddenly feel a chill? Rex rubs his nose, baffled. Why does it feel like someone's thinking about me? Chapter 34, The Ruins Invitation. Morning, the Duel Dojo. Kira got up early, bought some breakfast, and arrived at the dojo. Before he could enter, he ran into Koji Sato. Koji's eyes lit up at seeing him and he hurried over. Senpai. You're here early today. Koji, you don't have to be so formal. Just call me Kaoruhei as usual. Sure thing, senpai. Koji grinned. You're here to see the master, right? He's inside. Kira. He's not sure when, but somehow he's become the dojo's senpai. Koji also signed up for Duel Academy's entrance exam but failed the written test. Kira doesn't get how anyone could fail such an easy test, but the passing rate is pretty low. In the anime, Jaden Yuki's written score was 110th, and that was near the bottom, meaning only about 100 passed, so it's tough. At the Master Takuchi's office, the door is open. He goes in and sees Takuchi sitting in his chair, wearing a heavy VR headset, laughing lewdly, his cheeks flushed. Kira ponders for a moment. He figures it's probably rude to interrupt, so he quietly leaves, pretends he never came, stands outside, and knocks on the open door. Then loudly asks, Master, are you in? Inside, there's a scramble and a thump, like something fell. After a few seconds, a voice answers. Come in. Kira enters, expression neutral as if nothing happened and he hasn't noticed Takuchi's messy hair. Just arrived? Takuchi asks cautiously. Yeah, just got here, Kira replies calmly. You didn't see anything strange, right? No, Kira feigns confusion, glancing around. Did something happen? Oh, nothing, nothing. I was just studying deck building. Takuchi yawns. Why are you here so early? You asked me to come by after the exam, Kira reminds him. Takuchi smacks his forehead. Oh, right. My memory's getting bad as I get older. Kira thinks, no, master, I don't think it's age. Maybe you're just overindulged. Especially since, in this world, with such advanced holographic technology, it's no surprise that certain industries in Rule 43 are booming, which must be hard on the kidneys of long-time gentlemen. High-level stuff. Congratulations on passing. I heard your test performance was great. You didn't shame our dojo. The master laughs. Once you're in, study hard. The revival of our style is up to you. I understand, master. Good, good. I just wanted to see if you are interested in an opportunity. You've probably been too busy studying to watch the news, right? Heard about the ruins in the northern suburbs. Ruins. Kira is surprised and shakes his head. Yeah, Kaiba Corp's team discovered them, just an hour's drive from the city. Not open to the public yet, but I have a friend on the inside. If you're interested, I can take you for a visit. Kira gets it. Ruins with stone slabs, hey? As everyone knows, in Yu-Gi-Oh! Lore, modern dueling began with archaeology. Pegasus discovered 3,000-year-old duel monster slabs in Egypt, awakening the spirits and kicking everything off. Now, after years of development, even with advanced card making and monster research, archaeology is still a key way for new archetypes to be born. Even after all these years, only the tip of the ancient duel monster iceberg has been unearthed. Even in 5DS, new ruins are constantly being found. And, contrary to the original belief that duel monsters started in ancient Egypt, later discoveries reveal ruins all over the world. Atlantis 10,000 years ago, the Nordic gods, the earthbound immortals from Peru's Nazca lines, and the crystal beasts from an ancient country worshipping gemstone power all came from ruins. Kira has never seen a real ruin or stone slab, and he's interested. Many ruins, once explored by professionals, become tourist attractions. Some duelists have even resonated with hidden spirits within them. Details haven't been announced publicly, but my friend says this is a pretty impressive sight, Takuchi adds. Master, you even have connections at Kaiba Corp. Kira realizes his master might be more powerful than he seemed. Let's not talk about that. Takuchi puffs up. In my youth, I was quite someone, only later did I retire from fame and conflict. Kira, respectfully, is your friend a Kaiba Corp executive? Or a duelist? Can you get cards through company channels? Takuchi deflates instantly. No, he's on the excavation team. Kira. Ahem, he was a great duelist but changed careers. Kaiba Corp requires everyone from researchers to diggers to be duelists by the president's order. Kira thinks, these days, even being on the construction crew requires dueling skills. But it makes sense. Ruins often come with supernatural dangers. Ordinary people could get hurt, but duelists face much less risk. Coincidentally, the city's Cape Island is holding the White Dragon Festival soon, and our dojo will go for a group outing. My friend will be there, so you can talk to him then. Okay, Kira replies, then notices something odd. Wait, there's a festival called White Dragon Festival? Chapter 35, Rampaging AI. Cape Island, White Dragon Festival. Sunshine streams through the colorful rides, casting dappled light. The enormous park is packed, brimming with a festival vibe. Here, you see Blue Eyes white dragons swooping along roller coaster tracks, flying chair rides shaped like blue eyes, and even one perched atop the Ferris wheel like a guardian. They're everywhere. Kira once again realizes just how powerful the legendary Kaiba is. He even established a holiday for his beloved Blue Eyes. It's even a legal holiday, everyone flocks to Cape Island for fun on this day. The dojo, caught up in the festive mood, is here for a group outing. Takuchi's friend from the excavation crew is present. Takuchi. Kazuya. The two embrace. I missed you so much. The man pounds Takuchi's back. Kira sizes up Takuchi's friend. A flashy plaid shirt, a shiny bald head, a weathered face, dark glasses. He looks more like a coder who's evolved than a duelist. With his squinty eyes and bald head, he combines the legendary squinty-eyed and bald traits. In some series, he'd be a boss-level villain, just not here. After all, no fancy hairstyle here in Yu-Gi-Oh means you've already lost half the battle. What took you so long to visit? Takuchi complains. I thought you forgot old friends. Busy with work, you know. By the way, I've found some awesome new resources, both projection and VR. The heroine is not just big, but... Stop. The students are here. Takuchi quickly signals. The man gets it. Oh, right. We'll talk later. The students. No, we're more interested in these topics. Let me introduce you, this is Sato Kazuya, a duelist from the dojo, a sort of fellow pupil, Takuchi says. Kazuya nods, indeed. The previous master once told me, I had great talent, and with effort could surpass Takuchi. Takuchi glares, never heard that. If so, why did the master expel you? Kazuya laughs, you don't know, the master liked me, but his daughter liked me more. When he found out, he was furious. Takuchi is shocked, how come you never mentioned this? Youthful mistakes, why bring up old stories? Kazuya waves it off, reminiscing. The students. Ahem, let's talk about the ruins. Takuchi quickly changes the subject, fearing more inappropriate stories. Oh, the ruins, of course. Kazuya grins. This time's ruins are interesting. Just then, snap, the lights in the huge dragon dueling arena go out. A rumbling follows as all the shutters drop instantly, doors and windows sealed. The place plunges into darkness. The crowd panics. What's going on? System malfunction. Refund. Kazuya looks around, puzzled. Weird. Even in a blackout, the arena's backup power should kick in. What's happening? Kira stays quiet, but the setup feels familiar. Wasn't there a similar event in the anime, back when Kaiba Island was first built? The system was hacked, the arena locked down, and everyone had to duel the AI to escape. The villain then was Siegfried von Schroeder, Kaiba's business rival. But he should have been defeated by Kaiba 8 years ago. Is it just a system error? Soon, light appears focused on the center of the arena. A cocky figure stands in the spotlight, brown hair, blue eyes, white coat. Then, he throws his head back and laughs, ha ha ha. That's Seto Kaiba. The crowd exclaims. What's going on? Why is Seto Kaiba here? Is this a surprise event? Kazuya realizes, wait, that's not Seto Kaiba, that's the arena's latest duel AI. Everyone. Kaiba Corp's duel program includes ace of the most famous duelists, perfectly replicating their tactics, thought processes, and even personalities. Combined with today's realistic holography, visitors can experience dueling the world's top duelists. Kazuya explains. Kaiba's obsession with AI is no secret. Since the pharaoh left, he's been obsessed with AI, constantly upgrading it. Check his research files and you'll find thousands of versions of pharaoh AI. In Pyramid of Light, Kaiba even lost to an AI pharaoh and was furious. In Dark Side of Dimensions, he beat it but declared victory meaningless. Takuchi, so now? Someone's hacked the arena, making the AI into Seto Kaiba's image, Kazuya says gravely, and it's linked to the system. Weird, I heard none of the public attractions had ace this advanced. Usually, legendary duelists like Yugi or Kaiba are for company testing only. Normally, they're not public. Sure enough, after its 3-part villain laugh, the AI Kaiba activates its duel disc. To get out, you must defeat my deck. Kira wasn't surprised. See? Time to duel. The trapped crowd stirs. What? We have to beat Seto Kaiba? No way. But it's just an AI. It can't have Blue Eyes White Dragon, right? You don't know? Because it's pure data, it has access to all the legendary duelists cards, so it has everything. What? Even Blue Eyes? We're screwed. Chaos erupts. The crowd is all casual tourists. To them, this AI not only replicates Kaiba's mind and tactics but has his full deck data almost as good as the real thing. He's the man at the pinnacle of today's dueling world, with the strongest deck. How could they win? You'd have to be Yugi Muto. Kira was calm. Being locked in for a while doesn't affect them much, Kaiba Corp will fix it soon, or at worst, break the doors. At most, they lose some time, maybe even get compensation from Kaiba Corp. But for Kaiba Corp, it's a PR disaster. Competitors will make a huge deal out of it. But that's their problem. Takuchi leans in, this is your chance to battle the legendary Kaiba deck, want to try? Kira shrugs, unimpressed. Even if it copies the mind and deck, it's just an AI, it can't cheat draws, right? But then Kazuya whispers, if someone beats this AI before the system is fixed, saving the company money and face, Kaiba might give out rare cards or cash. No need to say more. Kira waves him off and strides toward the dueling arena, leaving a dashing silhouette. Money and cards are just material things. But as a duelist, he can't miss a chance to challenge a legend. Anyone who tries to beat him to it will have to go through him. Righteously. Let's go. Kira stands across from the AI Kaiba, projected in holography. I'll be your opponent. Chapter 36, Let me adjust my deck. Seeing someone step up to challenge, the AI Kaiba immediately waved his hand with another round of his signature three-part laugh, then clenched his fist dramatically. As long as we duel, the winds of battle will never cease. Come on. Hold on. Kira showed no mercy, holding up his hand in a stop gesture. Mind if I tweak my deck a bit first? AI. Naturally, the AI had no objections. So Kira pulled out his deck and began making adjustments. Remembering to bring a side deck in addition to your main deck was a basic skill for any card game veteran in his past life. In regulated tournaments, your side deck was limited to 15 cards, tailored to adapt to your opponent's deck and tactics. But in this world, there was no such restriction, so Kira was unreserved. He carried at least 70 or 80 side deck cards with him, enough to handle any situation. Since this was Kaiba's AI, it was centered around the Blue Eyes White Dragon, with a few different engines mixed in, but mostly dragon-type or light attribute monsters. In the movie, Kaiba was called the King of Light by Anubis, resurrected from ancient Egypt, while the Yami Yugi was the King of Darkness. Their decks were deliberately designed as light versus dark opposites. Although Kaiba's lower-level monsters had mixed attributes, his main finishers like the Blue Eyes system or the VWXYZ fusion mechs were all light attributes. And based on the movie The Dark Side of Dimensions, it's likely that Kaiba's real deck by now would at least include Blue Eyes Alternative White Dragon, Blue Eyes Chaos Max Dragon, and the true Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon, all powerful forms that have already made appearances. The question is how updated this AI version was. If that's the premise, then compared to Kaiba's DM era deck, this one should have an even higher Blue Eyes ratio. Kira quickly finished his adjustments based on what he knew, slotted his deck into his dual disc, and walked up to the AI. All done. Let's go. Kira, LP 4000. AI Kaiba, LP 4000. AI Kaiba hyped himself up again, as long as we duel, the winds of battle will. My turn. Draw. Kira cut him off again, blocking his catchphrase for a second time. AI Kaiba. I set a monster face down. Kira played 2 cards from his hand, and set 2 cards in my back row. Turn end. Then, it's my turn. AI Kaiba drew his card with such force his white coat flared behind him. It was over the top, but he did imitate the real Kaiba's mannerisms well. He even had the original voice lines and signature dramatic poses. AI Kaiba declared, I summon the Lord of Dragon, Lord of D. Lord of D, ATK 1200. Then I activate the spell card, the Flute of Summoning Dragon, from my hand. AI Kaiba said, this can only be played when Lord of D is on the field. It lets me special summon up to 2 dragon-type monsters from my hand. A bone flute appeared in Lord of D's hands, who blew a summoning melody. First, I summon. Level 6, Crystal Dragon. A mysterious dragon sculpted from pure crystal appeared, sparkling with a faint blue light, like starlight from the night sky, radiating both beauty and overwhelming dragon might. Crystal Dragon, ATK 2500. And next, this card. AI Kaiba raised his second dragon card with even more flair. If darkness is endless, then let it be cleansed by the Dragon of Light. Descend, my soul. Level 8, Blue Eyes White Dragon. A raging wind and thunderous lightning filled the arena. The majestic figure of the Blue Eyes White Dragon emerged from blinding white light, its massive wings unfolding as a roar shook the entire building. Blue Eyes White Dragon, summoned. Blue Eyes White Dragon, ATK 3000. The crowd was instantly in awe. Blue Eyes White Dragon. The legendary monster. Even if it's just virtual data, this trip was worth it. Takuchi couldn't help but say, as expected of a top-tier dueling AI developed by the Kaiba Corporation. Perfectly recreates Seto Kaiba's tactics. Summoning such powerful dragons in the very first turn. Indeed. Seto nodded. At this moment, it feels like the real Kaiba Seto is dueling. Even the students who already admired Kira looked worried. This was the legendary Seto Kaiba, how could anyone possibly win? Humph, just a third-rate duelist with a fourth-rate deck. Now you'll see the difference between absolute power and yourself. AI Kaiba raised his arm and shouted. Battle phase. Crystal Dragon attacks the face-down monster. Not so fast. Kira waved, at the moment we enter the battle phase, I activate my set card. Continuous Trap Dragon Capture Jar. A rock jar shaped like a dragon's head appeared on Kira's field, spewing out an invisible force. Even mighty dragons like Crystal Dragon and Blue Eyes White Dragon were bound by its magic. Crystal Dragon, ATK 2500 Def 1000. Blue Eyes White Dragon, ATK 3000 Def 2500. While Dragon Capture Jar is on the field, all Dragon-type monsters are switched to defense position and cannot switch back to attack position. Everyone. A devastating anti-dragon tool, almost screaming countermeasure in its effect. With just one card, all Dragon-type attacks were permanently sealed. Of course, this wasn't Kira's original move. Dragon Capture Jar might be the oldest anti-dragon card in Yu-Gi-Oh! History. Pegasus used it against Kaiba way back in the Duelist Kingdom, and it infuriated Kaiba back then. But Kira stayed calm. Just an attack lock, he didn't even think it was that oppressive. Honestly, if he could, he'd rather use Buster Blader, the real top dragon killer of this era. Summon Buster Blader, the Dragon Destroyer Swordsman via fusion, gain 1000 ATK for every dragon in the opponent's field or graveyard, and as long as Buster Blader's on the field, all opposing dragons must switch to defense and can't activate effects. For any pure dragon deck without cheating, facing that is a death sentence. Unfortunately, Buster Blader is probably also a rare card in this world, hard to come by. But that's fine. Even without the strongest weapon, there are plenty of other counters. Compared to those, Dragon Capture Jar is just a simple attack lock, he just happened to draw it first. Surprisingly, the AI Kaiba seemed pretty smart, muttered something under his breath, and kept going. Then I'll use Lord of D to attack your face-down monster. With both dragons forcibly benched, Lord of D had to do the dirty work himself. Flip another set card. Kira revealed another back row, trap card Dimensional Prison. When an opponent's monster attacks, that monster is banished. A spatial rift opened, crackling with energy. Lord of D, startled, tried to turn back, but it was too late, the rift swallowed him whole, banishing him from the game. Nice counter. Takuchi analyzed. At first glance, that trap just eliminated the weakest monster, but it was the most troublesome. A student asked, "Hey? Why?" When Lord of D is on the field, all dragon-type monsters are immune to card effects, Kazuya nodded. By getting rid of it first, the protection over the dragons is gone. The crowd started to get excited. To withstand such a fierce first wave, this kid isn't ordinary. I'd have been knocked out already. But it's probably only temporary. Just watch, this is Kaiba's AI, after all. But Sato Koji, listening, smiled quietly. No, you're too naive. That's only 2 traps, this is just the beginning. The real fun has just started. As the earliest victim of Kira, he trusted his instincts. After his attacks were foiled, AI Kaiba played his last 2 cards. I set a card face down and end my turn. Chapter 37, vs Kaiba's deck. My turn. Draw. Kira waved his hand. I flip my set monster. The monster I set is Dragon Manipulator, flip summon. Dragon Manipulator, ATK 700. Dragon Manipulator's flip effect, Kira continued, when this card is flipped, until the end of the turn, I gain control of one face-up dragon-type monster on your field. So, I take control of your Blue Eyes White Dragon. AI Kaiba. What the hell, why do you even have that in your deck? What's the point of this thing? A knight in a red cape leaped onto the Blue Eyes White Dragon's back with practiced ease. In a flash, Blue Eyes was now on Kira's side of the field. The students in the crowd were in an uproar. He took the legendary Blue Eyes White Dragon. Haha, guys, I'm so hyped. No wonder he's the boss, did what we'd never even dream of. AI Kaiba, you bastard. The spectators were thoroughly entertained, forgetting they were locked in the arena by the system. Even random bystanders started cheering for Kira. No matter which world, people love a good show. After transmigrating here and dueling a lot, Kira quickly realized that duelists in this world had a strange obsession with dragons. Which makes sense. Kaiba Corp, after all, is dragon crazy, and Kaiba himself is the ultimate dragon fan. Dragons are cool and strong, so it's only natural for them to be a popular type. So, when picking side deck cards, Kira loaded up with all kinds of anti-dragon weapons. With no side deck size limit, why not stuff in a bunch of cheap, niche counters? Better safe than sorry, and today, it paid off. For example, here's another one. Although I control Blue Eyes now, Dragon Capture Jar is still on the field, so all dragons, even mine, must stay in defense. So, Kira played another card from his hand. I tribute Blue Eyes White Dragon to tribute summon. He seemed to hear AI Kaiba's teeth grinding. You. If anything could upset Kaiba more than having his white birdie stolen, it would be having her tribute the way. And if anything was worse than that, it would be if the tribute summoned a card that was also specifically anti-dragon. Tribute summon, level 6, Dragon Seeker. Dragon Seeker, ATK 2000. Dragon Seeker's effect, when summoned, destroy one face-up dragon-type monster. Kira pointed at Kaiba's field, destroy Crystal Dragon. The green demon glared forward, roaring as if to declare, I'm here to slay dragons. With a boom, Crystal Dragon shattered into icy shards. To Kira, this card wasn't even that good. It needs a tribute just to destroy a dragon, and it's only 2000 ATK for level 6. Compare that to Zaborg the Thunder Monarch, a level 5 with 2400 ATK that can bounce any monster. But the Monarch series is probably also rare here. So, overall, Dragon Seeker is just a situational anti-dragon card in this early environment, not strong, but it does its job. Its real advantage is its name and its effect, which basically says, I'm here for you, dragons. This means, that if you use it with other counters, you can break your opponent's spirit even before you break their LP. The AI went silent, as if stunned. It was probably thinking, I may not be human, but you're a dog. Are these cards even legal? Dragon Seeker, direct attack. Kira ordered. But the AI had a counter. I activate my set card trap card, counter gate. When an opponent's monster attacks directly, negate that attack and draw one card. A transparent barrier appeared, absorbing the Dragon Seeker's attack and turning it into golden energy that flowed into the AI's deck. Attack negated, and I draw a card. Then, I attack directly with Dragon Manipulator, Kira said. Without his mount, Dragon Manipulator's power was much lower, but he still charged forward, slashing down. The AI's hologram flickered from the hit. AI Kaiba, LP 4000 LP 3300. I set 3 cards in my back row and end my turn. 3 more ominous face-down cards appeared, sending a chill through the crowd. Second turn and already this much darkness, now another 3 set cards? Even before they were activated, everyone felt a cold aura, as if the whole arena got colder. Who is this guy? He's suppressing Kaiba's deck so hard. A bystander muttered. Wait, I think I've seen him before. That's this year's Moonlight Cup champion. What? The rookie who crushed the legendary Rex Raptor in the finals. That's a real pro. He's too strong. AI Kaiba's turn, drawl. He seemed pretty pissed, not even bothering with his usual catchphrases. I activate spell card, the Melody of Awakening Dragon. Discard 1 card, and add up to 2 dragon-type monsters with 3000 or more ATK and 2500 or less def from my deck to my hand. That's a card designed for Blue Eyes. I add these 2 cards to my hand. AI Kaiba drew his chosen cards with style. I add another Blue Eyes White Dragon and a Blue Eyes Alternative White Dragon to my hand. Kira frowned slightly. So, Alternative is already here. Alternative's effect, reveal a Blue Eyes White Dragon from my hand to special summon this card. So, I reveal the Blue Eyes White Dragon I just added. AI Kaiba slapped the card onto his virtual duel disc, bursting with a deep blue light. Let that light pierce the void. Now, appear. Level 8, Blue Eyes Alternative White Dragon. A dazzling blue light burst from the projected sky, accompanied by a mighty dragon's roar. Alternative dragon descended, its wings spanning like twin blue skies, its roar echoing through time itself. Blue Eyes Alternative White Dragon, summoned. Chapter 38, Uno Reverse Card. Blue Eyes Alternative White Dragon, ATK 3000. Blue Eyes Alternative White Dragon. The crowd was excited all over again. Kaiba Corp's top research team developed the ultimate evolution of Blue Eyes. This AI is too strong. But many people also turned to look at Kira. If he can even beat this AI, what kind of monster is he? But even Alternative is still a dragon, so it's still affected by Dragon Capture Jar. As long as the jar is on the field, all face-up dragons must be in defense. Alternative switches to defense. Blue Eyes Alternative White Dragon, ATK 3000 Def 2500. No problem. Alternative doesn't need to attack to destroy. Now you'll see Blue Eyes' true power. AI Kaiba shouted. Alternative's effect, once per turn, destroy one opponent's monster. I destroy your Dragon Seeker. Alternative opened its mouth, gathering white energy to fire. Then I flip my set card, Kira declared. Continuous trap light imprisoning mirror. A giant mirror floated onto the field. The energy gathered by Alternative was instantly dispersed and absorbed into the mirror. While light imprisoning mirror is on the field, the effects of all light monsters activated on the field or in the graveyard are negated. Everyone, even Kira's fellow dojo students, were shocked by his masterful and ruthless tactics. A chill seemed to spread through the whole arena. The AI was speechless, its hologram flickering, its virtual mouth repeating glitched out words. Bastard, BZZT, damn, BZZT, dog, BZZT. The crowd looked at each other. What was happening? Did he just crash the system? Kazuya looked at Kira in awe. Is he going to be the first to crash the AI with a duel? Not done yet. The AI struggled on. I activate spell card trade-in. Discard a level 8 monster, and draw 2 cards. I discard Blue Eyes White Dragon to draw 2. He showcased another card. I normal summon Chiron the Mage. Chiron the Mage, ATK 1800. Chiron the Mage's effect, discard a spell card to destroy one spell/trap on the field. Sage is Earth, so it's not affected by the mirror. I discard a card to destroy a light imprisoning mirror. A red ray blasted the mirror to pieces. Kira wasn't surprised. Kaiba's deck had powerful dragon and light end bosses, but the small monsters were random and hard to counter directly. That's the strength of a big deck. Next, I discard card of compensation. When discarded, it lets me draw 2 more cards. Then I activate Dragon Shrine. Send 1 dragon from my deck to the graveyard. If it's a normal monster, send 1 more. AI Kaiba sent 2 cards from his deck. I send my third Blue Eyes White Dragon and Dragon Spirit of White to the graveyard. He played another card. Spell card Return of the Dragon Lords. Revive 1 level 7 or 8 dragon from my graveyard. I revive. Level 8, Dragon Spirit of White. A vortex opened in the graveyard, and a pure white dragon emerged, spreading its wings as a cyclone of white light swirled around it. Dragon Spirit of White, Def 2000. Dragon Spirit of White's effect, when summoned or revived, banish 1 spell/trap from the opponent's field. So, I banish your Dragon Capture Jar. A white whirlwind swept the jar away, erasing it from the field. Incredible! Someone gasped. Indeed. To turn the tables from that situation and use the Kaiba deck so perfectly, it's just like the real legend. How could any human beat this AI? Now it begins. AI Kaiba declared. The ultimate power of dragons, witness it now. A classic old-school spell card appeared with a golden effect. Everyone gasped when they saw its art. Dragon's Mirror. Spell card Dragon's Mirror, activate. Kaiba yelled, banish fusion materials from my field and graveyard to fusion summon a dragon fusion monster. I banish 3 Blue Eyes White Dragons from my graveyard to fuse the ultimate dragon. The 3 blue eyes appeared, merging in a vortex of lightning and white light. After 1,000 years, the ultimate form emerges. Level 12. Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon, summon. The gigantic 3-headed dragon stood tall, each scale shining, all 3 heads roaring in unison. Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon, ATK 4500. The real ultimate dragon. The crowd went wild. To see a legendary monster like this in person, what a surprise for an unlucky day. Ha 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 ha. The AI, finally happy, began cosplaying Kaiba again, arms folded, three-part laugh in full force. Ha ha ha. Strong. Invincible. The strongest. This is Blue Eye's final form, the ultimate Hei. He suddenly stopped mid-sentence. He saw that Kira had another set card on the field. What's that? Thonian Polymer? What is that? Trap card. Thonian Polymer's effect, Kira said calmly, when an opponent fusion summons, I contribute a monster to take control of that fusion monster. AI Kaiba. He showed a perfectly Kaiba-esque shocked face mime. Shock and anger mixed with disbelief, as if to say, how did you know I was going to summon Blue Eye's ultimate? The whole world knows Kaiba will summon Blue Eye's ultimate. And what the hell is this ultimate NTR trap? Dragon's Mirror is counted as a fusion summon, so Thonian Polymer can be used on it. Kira tribute his dragon manipulator and pointed at the three-headed dragon. So, I tribute Dragon Manipulator to take control of your Blue Eye's ultimate dragon. Hellfire engulfed the ultimate dragon, and the next moment, it was on Kira's field. Blue Eye's ultimate dragon, ATK 4500. The crowd. What else could they say? Words could not describe their shock. All they could say was, this Kira is invincible. He even stole the legendary Blue Eye's ultimate dragon. That kind of success could make you happy for a day, no, for half a year. My turn, draw. Kira played a spell, I activate leeching the light from my hand. Target one light monster on your opponent's field. My monsters gain ATK equal to that monster's ATK until the end of the turn. AI Kaiba. Target opponent's light, massive ATK boost. Another card with counter written all over it. AI Kaiba's projection froze, flickering between various shocked expressions, mouth repeating glitched words. Bastard, BZZT, damn, BZZT, dog, BZZT. The crowd was confused. Did he just crash the system? Sato Koji looked at Kira with near worship. Kira-senpai has broken the system. I choose your alternative white dragon and gain its ATK. So Blue Eye's ultimate dragon's ATK becomes Blue Eye's ultimate dragon, ATK 4500 ATK 7500. ATK 7500. That's more than any legend. A spectator started to say but realized words couldn't describe such overwhelming power. So they just shouted. Invincible. Blue Eye's ultimate dragon, attack Chiron the Mage. Chiron the Mage, ATK 1800. The three heads opened their jaws, blasting a tidal wave of white light. The AI was overwhelmed by the radiance. AI, LP 3300 LP0. Chapter 39, Humble Kira? At the same time, elsewhere, Rex Raptor was in quite a good mood today. After several days of seclusion, he found his way to the arena and, after stomping a few newbies in a row, regained his confidence and his dueling touch. Now this is what dueling is supposed to be. So it wasn't my fault I lost in those previous matches. After racking up 7 straight wins, Rex left the venue satisfied. He grabbed some dinner at a nearby restaurant, and as he stepped outside, he unexpectedly bumped into a fan. Ah! It's Rex Raptor. A teenage boy's eyes lit up when he spotted him from afar, and he hurried over. I'm a big fan. Can I get your autograph? Rex was instantly overjoyed. The last time anyone had asked for his autograph felt like it was ages ago. He'd even started to feel like he was already washed up. Not that it was surprising, since he hadn't appeared in tournaments or the public eye for years. Kid, you're in luck. I'm in a good mood today. Rex happily took the autograph board the boy handed him and scribbled his flamboyant signature. Thank you. The boy took his signed board and turned to leave, grinning. Hey, wait up, don't be in such a rush. Rex grabbed him by the collar and hauled him back. You're just gonna take my autograph and walk off. The boy was confused. Isn't that? Rex held out his hand and waggled his fingers. Money, kid. My autograph doesn't come cheap. If you've got no cash, pay with cards. Hey! The boy was stunned. You charge for autographs? What? Rex acted offended. I'm the great Rex Raptor. You think my signature is worthless? And no, of course not. So a few minutes later, Rex was walking down the street with a few new cards and a wallet in hand. TCH, broke kid, nothing valuable. He curled his lip. He didn't need the cards or the cash. He just enjoyed doing this kind of thing. It made him think of his old buddy Weevil. Back in the day, they were inseparable, even pulling autograph scams together of course, they also got caught and beaten up together. He wondered what his old pal was up to these days. He came back to his senses and suddenly realized something was off. It was broad daylight, but somehow the street was deserted. Even the sky had turned gloomy, the heavy air making it hard to breathe. "Found you at last, Rex Raptor." A rough voice came from a nearby alley. A man in a suit strode out, his eyes gleaming green, and he wore a uniquely designed dual disc. "Rex, and you are?" "I'm Fujimoto, sworn brother of Jenny Cairo whom you killed." "Rex? Who the heck is that? Should I know him?" Rex looked completely baffled, but Fujimoto gave him no chance to respond, immediately activating his dual disc. "Playing dumb won't help. No more words. Shadow Duel, begin. Today, I'll use your soul to honor the dead Jenny Cairo." "Rex? So, who exactly are you talking about? Have I even met this guy?" Kaiba Land, Duel Arena. As the Duel AI's LP hit 0, the system lock was finally released. The armored shutters over the windows slid open, the rolling gates lifted, and sunlight streamed back into the arena. The AI's projected image still glitched on stage, repeating, "BZZZ, you, BZZZ. Is the AI okay? Maybe it's broken. Yeah, looks like it's completely fried. Poor thing." The crowd whispered among themselves. But soon, no one paid attention to the AI. The spotlight was on Kira, who just won the duel and unlocked the system. At least to the audience, this Kira was a god. The AI had Kaiba Sito's deck data and, in their eyes, perfectly mimicked his thinking, tactics, and even his over-the-top lines. The AI had shown the Blue Eye's overwhelming power, but Kira countered everything with ease. The highlight was when the AI was finally defeated by its own Blue Eye's ultimate dragon's attack. The dojo students, led by Sato Koji, were in awe throughout the duel. The whole match felt as if gusts of cold wind blew across the field, yet, from the outside, the more they watched, the more entertained they felt. As fellow dojo members, they were proud now they could brag, "I know that guy." But as they idolized him, they also felt uneasy. If even the legendary Power Deck champion at the top of the duel world lost to their Kaohei, what would become of dueling's future? They couldn't help but feel that, as Kira's star rose, a shadow was falling over the entire dueling world. Kaiba Land staff soon arrived, apologizing and compensating the trapped guests, and shut down the system for repairs. Soon, Kaiba Corp sent people over. Sito's brother, Mokuba Kaiba, came in person. "Fujiki Kira, right? You're the one who stopped the rogue duel AI." Mokuba shook Kira's hand. "Thanks to your bravery, on behalf of Kaiba Corp, I thank you." Kira waved it off. "It was nothing. I just did what any duelist should. No need for cash rewards or rare cards." Mokuba blinked, then burst out laughing. "You're a funny one. Tell you what, I'm heading back to the local Kaiba office. There should be plenty of cards in the warehouse there. Want to come take a look? We'd also like to ask about the incident details." "Whoa, direct access to Kaiba's warehouse? Ha, you sure? I'd feel bad." But as he spoke, Kira was already following Mokuba as if they were old pals. "No problem. You saved us a ton, that's way more important," Mokuba smiled. The students watched Kira's silhouette disappear in silence. After half a minute, Sato Koji muttered, "Why does he seem so good at this?" "Ha, you don't get it. That's a talent too." Takuchi looked after Kira with approval, nodding slightly. "You all have a lot to learn from him." The students. Chapter 40, The President remembers the name. A Kaiba Corp helicopter, emblazoned with the KC logo, glided through the air. Inside sat the legendary duelist Sito Kaiba, legs crossed, accepting a tablet from his subordinate. "President, the emergency at the amusement park has been resolved," the subordinate reported. "A duelist on site defeated the rogue duel AI and unlocked the arena. The staff are repairing the equipment and investigating the system breach." Kaiba grunted, unlocking the tablet with a slight frown. Again, something like this. He remembered this had happened before, years ago. When the first Kaiba Land opened, they held the KC Cup as the opening event. During that tournament, his old business rival, Siegfried von Schroeder, hacked the system, locked the arena, and hijacked the duel AI. Back then, the only way to unlock it was to defeat the AI. Luckily, Kira just happened to be there and beat the AI. This time was like déjà vu. But who could it be now? Siegfried again? No, impossible. Back at the KC Cup, it was only possible because Kaiba didn't know about him. After that, Kaiba made sure Siegfried never got another chance. Plus, Kaibaland's systems were long patched. So who could it be? President, they've sent the duel footage. Want to see? The subordinate asked. Send it to me. Kaiba swiped the tablet. Everything else could wait, he'd never miss a good duel. Especially when the AI was based on his own deck, his own persona. That was supposed to be top secret. Still, he was curious to see how some random kid managed to beat his copy. The video loaded, and the duel began. Okay, looks like his AI went second. A decent opening, Lord of D and Flute of Summoning Dragon to bring out Blue Eyes and Crystal Dragon. Kaiba nodded, satisfied that the AI did him justice. Let's see how the other side responds. Kira on video, continuous trap dragon capture jar. All dragons switch to defense position. Kaiba pondered. Not bad. It reminded him of the time Pegasus tortured him with a similar card, the dragon capture jar, back in the Duelist Kingdom. Kaiba snorted. That was the past. He'd long surpassed Pegasus, tricks like this wouldn't work on him now. Kira continued. Dragon Manipulator, take control of Blue Eyes White Dragon. Then tribute summon Dragon Seeker. Kaiba's smile faded. Light Imprisoning Mirror, negate all effects activated by light monsters. Kaiba fell silent. Trap card Thonian Polymer, take control of your Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon. Kaiba watched his AI's image glitch out and collapse under Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon's white lightning, then quietly shut off the screen. That boy who won, what's his name? Kaiba asked. Seems to be Fujiki Kira, from the city's Duel Dojo. He just passed the Duel Academy's entrance exam, starting this year. Oh. Kaiba's interest was piqued. So, essentially, one of his students. Fujiki Kira. Kaiba laced his fingers, leaned back, and chuckled. He would remember this name. Kira got into a 6-meter-long stretch limo with Mokuba, heading to Kaiba Corp's local branch. To beat my brother's AI, you're pretty amazing, Mokuba said. That's our top-tier in-house AI, capable of any strategy. Just lucky, Kira replied, thinking, well, your AI has a flaw, it loses its cool too easily. Maybe he should charge them extra for finding that design flaw. By the way, were you guys just in the area by chance? Kira asked. The Kaiba Corp HQ wasn't here, but Mokuba had arrived so quickly he must have already been nearby. Yeah, we had some business here. My brother and I will both be around for a bit. I suppose it's fine to tell you. Mokuba grew serious. Be careful going out at night. We've heard there are some dangerous people around, targeting duelists, especially skilled ones. These are some real desperados. Kira immediately recalled his run-in a few nights ago. Thanks for the warning, they already tried. That guy's deck is still with me. You mean President Kaiba is here too? To deal with these shadow duelists? Exactly. We're trying to find out who's behind them, they have something we need. Ah, but never mind that. Mokuba smiled, dropping the topic. Just don't underestimate them. They're called shadow duelists. You've probably heard rumors, but I guarantee they're a lot more dangerous than you think. I've heard the rumors, Kira said, recalling things he'd seen online. Supposedly, some people are pressuring Kaiba Corp to weaponize dual monster tech. It was only natural. Kaiba Corp started as an arms dealer, one of the world's biggest, until Sito took over and turned it into the premier dueling company. Don't worry, that's never happening, Mokuba smiled. Ever since my brother took over, we gave up arms dealing then, now, and forever. Dueling should make people smile, not become a weapon of war. A duelist who brings smiles, hey? Kira nodded in agreement. LOL. People who duel him usually end up with a smile too. Though, honestly, Kaiba's move to end arms development was impressive. Kira thought times had changed, and making cards was way more lucrative than making tanks. Wait, stop the car. Mokuba suddenly noticed something. The driver obeyed. What is it? Kira asked. Mokuba frowned at his watch, or rather, a Kaiba Corp device that looked like a watch, whose screen was now flickering. What's that? A device that detects dual energy. If it's reacting, there's a shadow duel happening. Mokuba jumped out. Kira followed. They turned several alley corners, the air growing darker and heavier until they seemed to hit an invisible barrier. Looking ahead, they could make out two people dueling. Kira didn't recognize one, but the other looked familiar. Rex Raptor? What's he doing in a place like this?
Thanks for listening.